This weekend, the Blancpain GT World Challenge Europe brings us to Germany. We're at the Nurburgring. It's the penultimate weekend in the championship deciding trail. The pressure is on. Last time out, we were at Zandvoort. It was an all-Audi front row. And as the lights changed, a demon start from Christopher Hauser had him on the inside line for the race lead under a huge attack from Dries Van Thor's Audi on the outside. Also in a hurry was the Raffaele Marciello Vincent Abril Mercedes, trying to wriggle its way through the traffic on the narrow Dutch circuit. Also in a hurry, number 63 Lamborghini, and that would prove to be very strong indeed on the pit stops, catapulting itself back into contention. Up front though, the Audis held sway. The Santalot car leading the way as Christopher Hauser built the gap in number 25. Pit stop window open, everybody cycled through, and the best pit stop of the race came from the number 63 Grasser Lamborghini. That would leave the pit lane in second place, suddenly in with a chance of a race win. Into the pit lane came Hauser to give way to Simon Gachet, looking for a maiden Blancpain GT win. Gachet blasted out of the pit lane, the question being, could he keep the race lead? The answer was yes. It was a healthy gap over the Lamborghini in second place as battles raged on all the way around the lap. Andrea Calderano here, for example, being stuck in traffic and struggling to find a way past the number 88 Vincent Abril Mercedes. He tried everywhere. It couldn't have been closer, but the Mercedes was a wide car to pass. Also busy battling number 4 Black Falcon Mercedes, eager for points to try to maintain the advantage in the championship. But it was an Audi win, a Santalot win, Christopher Hauser and Simon Gachet victorious at Zandvoort. Second across the line, the number 63 Christian Engelhardt Mirko Bortolotti Lamborghini, but delight for Hauser and Gachet. Another ultra-competitive race in this year's championship. The drivers headed to the podium, but for Audi it was a 1-3. Santalot coming home victorious. Now remember that the Blancpain GT World Challenge Europe also has sister series in America and in Asia. Two manufacturers, Ferrari and Mercedes, register drivers across each of the three elements. Ferrari, for example, strong in America, strong in Asia, but Andrea Bertolini, David Perel, Renat Salikov and Louis Machiels represent the prancing horse here in the European element of the Blancpain GT World Challenge. It's a formidable lineup for Ferrari, but so too is the lineup from Mercedes. It's a brand that's looked really strong this year in America. Here in Europe, the three-pointed star is represented by Raffaele Marciello, Luca Stolz, Thomas Neubauer and Mauro Ricci. And it's a pretty strong group of drivers in Asia as well. Small wonder that Mercedes is doing so well in terms of points against Ferrari in this year's Blancpain GT World Challenge. Mercedes has the advantage over Ferrari, but there are still plenty of races with points on offer. This weekend, we could be on target for another Audi victory. The cars are always well suited to this circuit, and number 1 with Dries Van Thor at the helm could be a potential winner.
The new car has actually been going quite well. I think it has, during the season it has won a few races, so I think that's a good sign. But yeah, for a new teammate is always nice, and it was always, exciting the first couple of races to know what each other's weaknesses are, strength points are. So, but we know each other now quite well, and he's proven that he's been quite fast. So hopefully he can be here as well. And like I said, try to get a victory this weekend.
Over at Black Falcon, there's a championship potentially to be won this season. Is Maro Engel thinking wins or points?
It's fantastic to race at the Nurburgring. It's a really special place, and one where both myself and the team, we have fantastic memories winning the 24-hour race here at the Nurburgring on the legendary Nordschleife, but also on the Grand Prix track. Some great successes. The team was on pole position here last year, so that'll definitely be the aim for us, because as we know in sprint competition it's super tight, and yeah, just excited to race here in front of our home crowd, and hoping for a lot of success, but also a lot of support.
The Santalot Audi team has been one that's been getting stronger and stronger and stronger over the season. The Spa 24-hour winning team in the past, and victorious at Zandvoort as well. And with Audis going so strongly in free practice around the Nurburgring circuit, this car could be on for another victory. So thinks Christopher Hauser.
In Blancpain GT Series so far, no win for me at Nurburgring. We had one the last time in Zandvoort, so I guess it would be time to do someone here. We have a great car. I mean, the Audi of Untitled Racing is just running well so far. We have a good car, we just have to try to do it.
Lamborghini is also strong around here. What about the Grasser Racing team as a potential victorious squad this weekend? Number 63 in the hands of Mirko Bortolotti and the ever-rapid Christian Engelhardt.
Yeah, first of all, I'm really looking forward to racing here on this track. I had my debut here in the Blancpain GT series back in 2016 when it was still an endurance event, and we won the race there, so really good memories from the start. And this year also the Nurburgring has been very good for us, or nice to us in other championships as well. So really looking forward to this weekend.
Aston Martin is also looking for a first outright win this season. It's been good in the Silver Cup, but what about the brand taking an outright win here? The SRO Motorsports Vantage GT3 looks quick, especially in the hands of former single-seater gun Marvin Kirchhofer.
I think we should be quite strong in the second and the third sector because it's quite fast. Our car showed good potential in fast speed corners this year. I feel like Ricky and me, we kind of deserve, especially the team deserves the first podium this year. We've been a couple of times very close to it, so we really give it a big push this weekend to get our first bottle of champagne and some trophies.
ACA ASP has enjoyed a good season with its fleet of Mercedes as well, not only taking Silver Cup honours on numerous occasions, but also an outright win at Brands Hatch. And Nico Bastian and Thomas Neubauer have their sights on the Silver Cup title. Nico Bastian is in confident mood.
Me as a driver, I also want to compete against the pro drivers, and I also prove that I can be there with the pros, but our main target is to win the Silver Cup Championship at the end of the season, but maybe already this weekend, as we have a quite good fleet already.
The amateur driver isn't overlooked in the Blancpain GT World Challenge Europe this year, and for example, over at HB Racing is another very rapid Ferrari. Florian Scholzer comes to the championship this year with bags of experience and is enjoying his racing.
For me to drive the Ferrari is the first time, it's amazing. It's still for me it's a car with the most emotion to drive a Ferrari as a race car. It's completely normal now. I think it's one of the most beautiful, but you get used to it, so it's normal to drive it now.
The sun is shining, the grid is formed, we're just about ready to go racing here for race 1 in the Blancpain GT World Challenge Europe at the Nurburgring. It's the full Grand Prix circuit, 5.1 kilometres long, and it is going to be Lamborghini and Mercedes at the front of the grid. This is the penultimate brace of races. We've got another weekend, next weekend at the Hungaroring, to determine the championship. So for Lukas Stolz and Maro Engel, there's an element of perhaps keeping out of trouble, consolidating, banking points rather than any heroics here, but we'll see. Let's have a walk up the grid then, with Mirko Bortolotti starting on pole position, and the blue Black Falcon Mercedes and Lukas Stolz alongside. Third on the grid is the blue and white Santalok Audi. Simon Gachet starts, Calvin van der Linde is alongside. Then it is Mathieu Drudi in 66 with Marco Mappelli for company. Charles Weir, who's had a race win this year, he is next on the grid on row 4 alongside Nico Bastian. Then we have Fabian Schiller starting number 90 alongside Ezequiel Perez Companc in number 1. Stefan Ortelli goes first for Santalok in 24. Ricky Collard's Aston Martin is alongside. On the 7th row there's Vincent Abril and Stein Scotthorst alongside him. On the 8th row Aurélien Panis and Tom Gamble, they're in the green Audi. Panis in the Lexus, first time we've seen that really being competitive in the sprint format this year. The 9th row Rick Brokers is alongside Stephen Palette, graduate of GT4. On the 10th row, you've got Kim Louis Schramm sharing with Jamie Green, in fact, the DTM start, and Taylor Proto lines up alongside for Lamborghini. Row 11 is Renat Salikov alongside Finlay Hutchinson. A row behind then you get to the Aston of Aro Vainio with Louis Machiels, Pro and Ferrari for company. Row 13, Hiroshi Hamaguchi racing here for the first time alongside experienced Florian Scholzer with the Ferrari. The back row, Mauro Ricci's Mercedes, and it's good to see on the grid number 111 Ferrari of Rory Penttinen that crashed on its first flying lap of qualifying, brought out a red flag, couldn't carry on, nor could it do Q2 in the hands of Steve Earle. But the Kessel Racing car, John, hooray, is on the grid.
Yes, unfortunately the damage that was inflicted at the rear of the car was probably more superficial than it was structural, so therefore the team were able to turn that car around. Of course they missed the second of the 2 qualifying sessions.
We're set to go racing then. Race 1 of 2 here at the Nurburgring. It's the Blancpain GT World Challenge Europe. It's Lamborghini on pole, Mercedes, Audi, Lamborghini to complete the top 6. If the race director is happy with everybody's position within the formation, the race will get underway. The lights will flick to green. They accelerate away. A good start made by Bortolotti. Not a great getaway by Stolz on the other side of the front row. So Bortolotti leads Gachet down to turn 1. Stolz breaks late on the outside line, tries to get back alongside and reclaims second. 3 wide, look for third as they wriggle their way through the corner. 1 or 2 run wide. So far, they've got through without the contact we feared.
Well, that's only turn 1. There's 2, 3 and 4 to get through. So the field sort of stringing out the top 6, 7 cars strung out. But there you see just behind, trying to go 2 abreast. In some cases, it'll be almost 3 abreast. Taking a lot of curb on the inside and running around the outside of the corner. So actually, it's one of the better, cleaner starts we've ever seen at Nurburgring.
Agree with that. Down the hill they come then. So the Nurburgring, which has played host to endurance and sprint in the past, indeed in one season it had a helping of both, the only circuit to have done so. Downhill they drop. The race leader is Bortolotti, but look at Stolz. He's back up into that second place. They're gapping the Audis, and Stolz now looking for a way ahead of Bortolotti if he can find it. He'd like to do it on track rather than on the pit stops. There, turning through the Dunlop curve, third is Simon Gachet for Santalok, but the leaders make the sprint up the hill, and right now, Bortolotti holds sway, but he's not getting away.
No, he's not. In fact, Lucas Stolz has managed to claim back maybe a couple of tenths of a second halfway around this first lap, and it's closing up as they exit through the Schumacher chicane. A little bit of use of the curb in the inside. Wow, the Ferrari is running wide, and that was maybe the same Ferrari that went into the tire barrier earlier this morning. Oh, big risk. One of them is that the 87?
That's Ricci. Mario Ricci off the road, yeah. The Pro-Am car, that's the one he shares with Jim Pla. That's a long way off. Is that up at the chicane? Here are the leaders, and we've had the change for third place. But Drudy has gone ahead of Gachet. Gachet there drops to fourth, and he's now under attack from Calvin van der Linde.
Indeed, and that's not going to be an easily defended. Calvin van der Linde has been coming on the back of a victory, likewise Suzuka, but will want to put his 66 attempt to Audi up ahead of the Santalok Racing version. Same car, basic, everything is identical. But now everything's kind of settled down as they go on to the third lap. Defence coming down, and that's then behind is Marco Mappelli, the challenger to Lucas Stolz, the number 4 Black Falcon Mercedes, and getting kind of boxed up in the battle that's going on for 4th and 5th place. So here's the start again. A great start by Mirko Bortolotti. Got the run down into turn 1. He got in first, got out first. It was the Mercedes Lucas Stolz who was under pressure on the inside and on the outside. But by the time they got out of the sequence of corners, everything had sorted itself out. So first and second, as they are right now.
As there, Vincent Abril comes under attack now because Stein Schotthorst is right up behind him, and that Mercedes in danger of losing ground rather than making up places. So Vincent Abril having a pretty rotten time of it at the moment. Victorious at Zandvoort in race 1, but struggling here.
Well, the balance of the car just entering turn 2 looked like it was a bit nervy, oversteer, which is unusual. Kelvin van der Linde now switches one way, got alongside, so he's taken that position away. Good bit of bluff call up by Matt, so he got through. That was probably more to do as much with the mistake that Simon Gachet made that gave the momentum back to van der Linde. He used it, he had to make the switch back, but he got it going into turn 5. Good thinking and good racing.
So game on, and this is Marco Mappelli's view as he drops down the hill now, trying to attack Gachet. And he's just seen that Simon Gachet is able to be overtaken. He is vulnerable, and so Mappelli trying to capitalise on that here. And a change there, look, Charles Weerts runs out wide. Ahead of him goes Nico Bastien, change for 7th place, so a mistake by Weerts. Up through the inside goes Nico Bastien, so a change for 7th. Van der Linde then goes through, and look, Compank is under attack now. Ricky Collard goes to the outside line in the Aston Martin, goes back to the inside line, goes back to the outside line. Weerts fights back against Bastien just up the road ahead of them, and he can't go back through. Compank just keeps Collard at bay. It's all happening.
Getting very, very busy. We're only 11 minutes or so into this race, and now little mini battles going on all the way through the field. But Nico Bastien, I mean, he's in a Pro-Am car. He is outstanding. Whatever car you put him in, he's outstanding.
This is there, 56 and 66, the Attempto twins, Drudy and van der Linde come through. Ezequiel Perez Compank is being given a driving standards flag for weaving more than one time. But there is the leading group of cars. It's really 6 in a line now, and the man on his toes is van der Linde. Looks for the inside, can't find a way through. Drudy fends him off, but van der Linde is looking very quick indeed.
Van der Linde looks like he knows what he wants to do. He's just waiting for that opportunity for Matteo Drudy to make a little error. He forced that error from Simon Gachet a lap earlier. In fact, in this part of the racetrack, can he do a similar thing to his sister, his teammate?
Van der Linde used to race, of course, here in things like the Sirocco Cup. He's a champion in, he's raced in the ADAC GT series. He knows what this track is all about. He's got a quicker run out of turn 4. Is there a gap on the inside at turn 5? Thinks about it. No, Drudy fends him off.
But Drudy did the wise thing. He didn't pinch the corner because he had contact with Van der Linde. But that you could see again, Van der Linde using corners 2, 3 and 4 to his advantage. Just didn't quite have the pace coming into turn 5 to make that overtake stick. But Drudy wisely gave him room. Down the inside this time, gets the job done. Drudy actually opened the door and let Van der Linde go through. That was as much a teammate cooperation as it was an overtake on the racetrack. Moved down the inside, and that now surely has got to be a pass for Marco Mappelli. He's finally gotten ahead of Simon Gachet. Now he can think forward and look to the back of Drudy. And Drudy is what, another few tenths up the road. But now Mappelli's released from behind Gachet. He's got the chance before we get into the pit stop door opening, which will be about 8 minutes and so.
This, the replay of Mappelli's move.
Yeah, I mean, finally Mappelli got himself into a position, and even coming into turn 1, it was almost as if the position was, Gachet said, don't give me any more pressure, you can have the position. He didn't really defend, he could have been more aggressive in his defence.
So on board here with Marco Mappelli, and the pit window is now open, so we'll get the cars potentially in this time. Pit window open, graphic confirms it as they blast now through the Ad Van Bergen up towards the chicane, and with that slow Ferrari ahead, is this going to just make one or two teams shout box? Let's see. Yes, leader in, second in, third in, fifth in as well.
They've all shadowed one another, and you could see just how late that call was for the leader and the second place car. And then further down the field, Charles Vert in the 8th position dives in as well. So top 4 plus 8th position, all, and now it's almost sort of, well, not quite half the field doing it, but here's where this race is going to be won and lost. The Black Vulcan Mercedes pit lane near the entry to the pit lane, the 63 Lamborghini much further down the pit lane. So Mirko Bortolotti, having done all he was asked to do, he controlled the race from the front. It is now fundamentally out of his hands. So Mercedes going to they've got the car down, and it's about rolling 66 Kelvin Van der Linde, stunning drive from him.
Oh,
and that's a car coming out in the car in the pit lanes.
And there's the Lamborghini, which is going to just get ahead and keep the lead. So Engelhardt is ahead of Engel. Very close indeed. The officials will want to have a look at all of this, but the Lamborghini stays ahead.
I mean, that was as close to an unsafe release as you could get. The look behind, is that the 563 that's come out now technically in 3rd place?
Should be.
It's one of those issues will be referred to the steward. Was that an unsafe release? Did the Black Vulcan Maro Engel have to stand on the anchors to get slowed down?
So what we've now got is Engelhardt just ahead of Engel, and it's going to be a fascinating battle between those two. In the background, look, it's Andrea Caldarelli, and here is the first of the 2 unsafe releases, potentially, because that is Engel blasting away into the path, and contact. That's a definite yellow card.
And it was is it an AMP car? Yes, I think it might be. So that is going to be reviewed unquestionably.
Yeah. And there's the Lamborghini.
And that probably looks less of an unsafe release from that angle, because the Lamborghini was always moving forward and fractionally ahead of the Mercedes.
New fastest lap of the race, Andrea Caldarelli. He's in 11th at the moment as the pit stop cycle through, but Caldarelli has done a 1:56.961. He is closing onto Engel, who is hustling on behind Engelhardt. Mattia Drudy still leads and is still staying out. Now Marvin Kirchhofer does the fastest lap of the race. So this second stint coming alive. Drive-through penalty, number 4 Mercedes. Luca Stoltz gets a drive-through. That's the leader coming in, Matthew Drudy. The officials are ready with the board. It's a drive-through penalty for an unsafe release.
Done and dusted. All Caldarelli's got to do now is run. If he wants to race with Christian Engelhardt, that's up to him.
Yeah.
But it's all over in terms of who's going to get the maximum points out of this
release.
So we saw it, we feared it, and it's now been confirmed. Not only that, but look, Caldarelli is right there as well. Does number 4 Mercedes go for the drive-through this time? Yes, it does. It does. To the inside goes Engel, and there suddenly Caldarelli is able to close right up onto the tail of the leader, but down the pit lane comes Engel. The real question now is where he will rejoin. He's going to be outside the top 10 potentially. There is Mirko Bortolotti. who is watching nervously. Christian Engelhardt's narrow margin of 7/10 of a second. Gottfried Grasser is hoping that he's going to be all smiles at the end of the race. Out of the Schumacher S. Now there is the danger man in all of this. Christopher Haase, who can smell a good result, might even be able to just get the whiff of a win here because he is closing on the two Lamborghinis. If he gets onto the back of Caldarelli before Caldarelli has been able to make a move at Engelhardt, the complexion of the race will change.
That's almost like the smell of a lovely barbecued bratwurst, isn't it, David?
Absolutely. And a Weiss beer in his mind as well. Down the hill they come then. Lamborghini 1-2, Audi 3. So Caldarelli here will see Haase closing. If he has to start defending, that's going to give Engelhardt a lifeline.
Again, through the final S's and chicanes, will Caldarelli launch it down the inside this time? Earlier defence from Christian Engelhardt. Watch for the exit. Both exit more or less similarly. Slightly wider for the 563, but more or less wheel track to wheel track.
And bear in mind as well that Mauro Engel is 12, not yet in the points. He's working his way back towards them. Engelhardt goes defensive at turn 1. Where is Caldarelli? Can he get up alongside? No, Haase is only 9/10 back. He's nearly with them.
And look behind, Charles, as Christopher Mies has now drawn himself up into this battle for what would be the final podium position. How can you get that close and not have any contact? Well, that's what Caldarelli is doing.
Mirko Bortolotti looking ever more nervous as his car leads the way. Caldarelli right there behind him, and Christopher Haase is almost with them. But yes, he's losing out a little bit now. Good on the brakes though.
Yes, yeah, well, look at Haase. Look how he was doing there. That what Caldarelli has been doing pretty much all the stint since he's been behind the wheel. And that was to try and get in early, sneak the nose in early into the final turn and force, in this case, the 63, not down the outside, contact, bodywork, and that's the chance for Christopher Haase, not to just only take second place, but could put himself in the frame for victory.
Contact between the two Lamborghinis. Christopher Haase capitalises and goes second. Andrea Caldarelli loses a place. He will not be happy about that, but he put himself into that strife.
Correct. He didn't have to do that. There was a move that, in my opinion, was an avoidable move. It was never going to work, and all it's done now is give Christopher Haase a chance to take victory right up the inside to the lock-up. So Caldarelli's gotten through again. Can he get his way around the outside through turn 70? Has he done it? Wow, what a turnaround in the space of 3 corners.
We're not done yet. Side by side down the hill. Engelhardt on the inside line. Caldarelli has his nose in front. He's got the lead. Caldarelli goes wide into the corner. Engelhardt tries to fight back on the inside. He's got the inside line as they climb the hill, but Caldarelli's got the ground out of the corner and he leads. From second to third to first, Andrea Caldarelli hits the front. Fantastic.
Well, between turn 1 and down to turn 5, it has been absolutely, well, you couldn't hold your breath long enough. It was fantastic racing. That contact coming into turn 1, I thought that's all over for Andrea Caldarelli. Now he's leading the race.
He's away and gone, isn't he? And so now Haase, having done that great job of briefly getting up in a second place, is the one that's frustrated because he is being held up by Engelhardt. They come through the chicane. Haase can see Caldarelli escaping and he needs to try and make a move. He's on the inside line here, coming into the Hyundai curve, but the gap evaporates. Christian Engelhardt defending, but of course, having lost out to the charging Andrea Caldarelli, there is now not a great deal that he can do. Now, here's the first part of it. That was the contact that fired Caldarelli out wide. That gave Christopher Haase the chance to get up into second place on the inside, but then he ran wide. Past him went Caldarelli, who stood his ground on the outside of Engelhardt, and the move was completed really down at turn 8. So it started at turn 1, and at turn 8 we have the new order, and it's the order that we have kept. Caldarelli from Engelhardt from Haase, 1, 2, 3. Race 1 of 2 in the Blancpain GT World Challenge Europe. They break, they turn now through turn 1. Haase tries to squirt up the inside. We'll give him the outside for turn 2. Can he get the undercut now and get the inside all the way around to turn 3? But that would become the outside to turn 4. There's a sideways Mies behind them. Engelhardt hangs on to position. Caldarelli just driving away up the road now. Helped in part, of course, by all these battles going on behind him. Everybody wants to be on the podium here. There's also the best of the Audis to decide upon. There's pride at stake here between Haase, Mies and Vanthoor. So Christopher Haase turns his way down through the right-hander of turn 6. Second, third, fourth, fifth, out of turn 4. Haase right into the back of Engelhardt. Everywhere he goes, there's a Lamborghini in the way. Pulls to the inside, can't go through. Slots back in behind. Now, where's Mies gone to? He has dropped back by a couple of lengths because he's rather busy now defending from Vanthoor. downhill they will run now, heading towards the right-hander of the Dunlop curve, and this is where there needs to be a really key move coming from Christopher Hauser to try and somehow get up alongside Christian Engelhardt, but he's tried most things and he's been rejected, hasn't he? Up the hill they come for the last time. Dries van Voor fifth has done the fastest lap of the race. Here, second and third go through, way gone. 7.5 seconds clear is Andrea Caldarelli. But Engelhardt, Hauser, second and third. It's not yet resolved, although you've got to say that Hauser is running out of options. It does look rather more secure now as far as the second place Lamborghini is concerned. Andrea Caldarelli then up towards the chicane. Sixth the car started. It is on target to win here at the Nurburgring. It's going to be a maiden victory of the season. Sorry, a second victory of the season, I should say, because they won at Misano. Caldarelli and Mapelli win number 2. It brings them very much into the game as far as the championship is concerned. Checker flag at the ready for Marco Mapelli and Andrea Caldarelli to win at the Nurburgring. A delighted driver Andrea Caldarelli will be, but for second place, Christian Engelhardt versus Christopher Hauser, who is going to try and dive out of the line. Is he? No, couldn't quite do it. So Engelhardt second, Hauser third, Mies fourth, fifth Van Thorp, and Milan Doctor in the background is going to be sixth. Really good effort by Engelhardt to try and withstand everything that was thrown at him. Really good effort by Hauser to catch up, and he too tried everything he could to get past, but it was not to be. The rest come home with Kircher for 7th, Engel 8th, Raffaele Marciello a really subdued 9th, and Timo Boguslavski rounding out the top 10. So the drivers are in Parc Fermé, so too is John Watson.
Andrea, congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Now tell me first of all, was this a better victory as a team owner or as a driver?
Difficult to say. All the guys there, they all deserve it. The car was mega. We struggled this morning with quali. As a driver and the team principal, I'm just really happy for everyone. We all deserve it.
So to start from 6th, third row of the grid to win, not easy here at Nürburgring.
No, it's not easy at all. It's like really difficult. I tried to really overtake Christian as much as I could. It was so difficult, but at the end, it's you just have to be patient sometimes.
Now we both know the secret of your car, but we won't tell anybody else.
Nobody knows this.
But there was a bit of contact. What happened?
Yeah, I was looking actually because after that the steering started to be a little bit tricky. I was scared that we were losing the power steer. I don't know. I tried to overtake outside, and I just see the car coming. Yeah, but nothing happened, hopefully. So.
Marco, you started the car. It was hard going in those early laps.
Yeah, obviously when you are behind the other car, it's not easy to overtake here. We know our car is very good on the race, very good on tires. We just need to find out something more in qualifying to start in front and have an easier job.
You looked to me to be a little bit sort of cautious when it came to overtaking, but you did get through cars before you handed over to Andrea.
Yeah, definitely. We are fighting for the championship, so risky maneuver are not acceptable anymore.
Very wise, sensible, well done.
Let's hear Christian Engelhardt's views anyway. What he has found him in Parc Fermé.
That was tough.
Yeah, it was tough because I had a lot of degradation. I struggled a lot in my stint and didn't quite have the pace, and that was the problem. Ultimately, I was trying to defend as well as I could. I think I managed quite well to stay in front with the pace we had, but it was one of the most difficult races I ever had.
Now, there was a little bit of contact coming down pit straight. We called it a love tap, but was it really love or was it just pure aggression?
I think it was a misunderstanding, to be honest. I think he moved towards me to the inside, and I defended my position, and he hit me on the left. But I have to look at the footage. For sure, nothing happened. So very happy about that, because you never want to have a Lamborghini 1-2 touch. But unfortunately, we touched a little bit. Nothing happened, so it's racing.
So what does that do to the championship? It means it's now 69.5 for the Lamborghini drivers and 63.5 for Black Falcon then. And Marco Mapelli, Andrea Caldarelli take over the championship lead, 6 points ahead of Stoltz and Engel. Mirko Bortolotti and Christian Engelhardt third, ahead of Raffaele Marciello and Vincent Abril fourth, with Christopher Hauser, Simon Gachet and Dries van Thor all next in the standings. A great win for Marco Mapelli and Andrea Caldarelli and the FFF racing team, and that sets up the championship battle very nicely indeed as we look forward to race 2 at the Nurburgring. So we're ready for race 2 here at the Nurburgring. It's a cooler day than yesterday. It's breezier. It has been a lot more overcast, although the sun is trying to break through. The grid is formed on, of course, a standalone qualifying session. It's not the results of the first race anymore. 2 standalone qualifying sessions, 2 separate grids, and on this cooler but dry day, the grid is formed. Track temperature hovering around the 28 degrees mark. But before we go racing, let's catch up with 1 or 2 of the drivers. John Watson is down on the grid.
Ezekiel, it took 1 flying lap to get your car in pole position for today's race.
Yeah, Dries did a mega job. The team also did a mega job to have the perfect car. So now let's hope we keep it clean, and yeah, we finish in the same position we start.
I hear that because you did, or not you, but Dries did such a fantastic job in qualifying, you've effectively saved a set of what would be almost new tyres.
Yeah, we have quite a fresh set, so I think we can push in the second part of the race as well. So yeah, let's hope we can build a gap and I can maintain it, and yeah, let's hope we finish on top.
But it's all important first stint for Dries to get the lead and build that lead.
Yeah, I think the first 3 corners are going to be the most crucial of the race. If we can keep it in front, I think the crew is really good at the pit stop, so for sure we will not lose it there. But yeah, I'm quite confident Dries will do a mega job.
Now, it's not quite an Argentinian summer here today, but it's cooler than yesterday. That's got to help as well.
Yeah, that's really good for the Audi, so I'm really happy about that.
Have a good one.
Thank you.
Ezekiel Perez Compact, the Argentine driver who shares with pole sitter Dries van Thort. Dries in the car ready to go. The fans are ready as well. Christopher Haase will line up on the outside of the front row of the grid in the Santalok Audi. There it is. And winners at Zandvoort earlier on in the season, of course, Simon Gachet and Christopher Haase. Let's rejoin Watty.
Dries, I know you were busy in the back of the pits there a minute ago, but just tell us, that qualifying lap was absolutely stunning.
Yeah, I mean, the car was working well the whole weekend, like I already said yesterday, which makes life just a little bit easier. But yeah, the lap was pretty good. I think we managed to save another set of tires compared to our competitors. So let's hope we can use it in our advantage now and get a bit of a gap, and hopefully Ezekiel can relax, or maybe not relax, but have an easy stint to the end. Let's hope. If it goes like in our mind, it's easy, but it's never like that. So
now, as they say, success breeds success. Winner of the Suzuka race last weekend. Fantastic drive by all of you. Not quite as hard this afternoon.
Oh, for sure. I mean, if you look who was starting around me, it's Haase, Engel, and me. So I think it's not easy, but like I said, I think our car has been working really well, especially yesterday in the race. It's also shown that it's quite quick, so just have to make a clean start, get out of the trouble in turn 1, and then try to get my head down and put a bit of a gap.
And use those tires well?
Yes, hopefully. Not too much, but thank you very much.
So there is Dries van Thort ready to get on board the pole-sitting car. And is it going to be an Audi win? The temperatures, perhaps, as you've been hearing, better for Audi today. And here at the Nurburgring, everybody involved in SRO and, of course, many of the teams, remembering Antoine Hubert, who we sadly lost at Spa yesterday. There on the outside of the front row of the grid, Christopher Haase, who has got, of course, a good strike rate at the Nürburgring and good strike rate in GT racing generally. It was a great drive yesterday by him to catch up to the Lamborghini battle. He split them briefly. Maro Engel, however, yesterday with the penalty for that unsafe release. The first race, they weren't finishing in the top 4, interestingly, and so he's got work to do today. Let's go back to John on the grid, though.
You had a great race yesterday, starting in the front row of the grid today. Is that any more pressure?
No. Honestly, it will be a good race, I think. Chris did a perfect job yesterday in qualib, so we need to take some good points now.
Christopher, you're going to be doing the start?
Yeah, I mean, a perfect shot would have been pole position, so for me it wasn't 100% perfect. The start, I think it will be quite hard. I have lots of good guys here around me, lots of good cars, so let's see how we end up at turn 1, or let's say turn 2. I think this is the key factor.
Sometimes the long way around, turn 1 works out for the best.
It works well, but sometimes also it doesn't work well.
I'll leave it to you. Thank you.
Well, Christopher Haase, bags of experience, so if anybody can make it work, he is the man. And there is the Mercedes of Raffaele Macchiello and Vincent Abril. It's been a little bit anonymous so far this weekend, but before Raffaele jumps on board the car, we might be able to hear from him because John is down there. Vincent Abril will do the second stint. The car lining up 6th on the grid. They were 9th in yesterday's race. The Mercedes, not really. Certainly that ACA car being as quick as expected this season, mysteriously. And Raffaele Marciello then on the outside of the 3rd row of the grid. The pole position car, Dries Van Thor 5th yesterday, Christopher Haas at 3rd yesterday, and lining up 7th is the ARM Motorsport Aston of Ricky Collard.
Ricky, starting 3rd row again. Can you make a better result than 7th as you got yesterday?
You know, it's a hard track for our car. We're working really, really hard with the package that we've got. And Marvin done a fantastic job in qualifying, it must be said. I think our race car is quite interesting. I think we're going to be good in the race. So, you know, we've got a pack of Audis in front of us, and we're going to be doing our best to be moving forward. But I think the race car will be something special today.
I mean, temperatures are cooler this afternoon. That probably helps everybody, by and large. Will it help you any more?
I think it will. I think the Audis maybe struggle a little bit to bring the tyres in when it's in the cooler temperatures. So maybe, you know, the first couple of laps we might be really strong and quite punchy. But, you know, then we've just got to make sure that we can bring the consistent pace in the middle of the race. And then it's important, I suppose, when I jump in that I really light it up for the 2 laps on the new tyres.
Enjoy it. Well done.
Thank you very much.
So Ricky Collard ready to get on board, and he'll do the second stint in that car. Marvin Kirchhofer will start. Raffaele Marciello gets on board 88, the ACA ASP team Mercedes. Can that improve on 6th on the grid? It was 9th in the race yesterday. That 7th place finish you just heard about from Ricky Collard and Marvin Kirchhofer, but the car that won yesterday lines up 7th on the grid today. Marco Mappelli and Andrea Caldarelli. Certainly a better race car than a qualifying car, and the way that it was driven in the race, certainly by Andrea Caldarelli yesterday, suggests that it's going to be one to watch in the first stint of this second race of the weekend. There is Caldarelli's Orange One FFF Racing Team Lamborghini. Just to make the point as well that next weekend at the Hungaroring we've got the last 2 races within Blancpain GT World Challenge Europe. So important here this weekend, people trying to score, stay in the hunt, getting themselves set for next weekend's championship decider. And the FFF Racing Team, another remembering Antoine Hubert. Fred Vervisch, winner in Suzuka a week ago, goes first in number 11 Audi. Finlay Hutchison is adapting back here to GT3 machinery because he was in a GT4 race earlier on in the day. He's had a busy weekend, so this will be his 4th race. Frederic Vervisch, touring car racer as well as GT star, ready to go in number 11, which is the Phoenix Racing Run car. And you'll, of course, have gathered that across all the Audi ranks, there is one Audi contracted driver, and then the other driver recruited by the team, ideally with budget. But Finlay Hutchison is a talented young driver anyway. Let's walk up the grid then and have a look at number 1, started by Dries Van Thor up against the pit wall, and 25 by Christopher Haas lining up alongside number 2. Will be started by Christopher Mies there on the 2nd row of the grid. Amaro Engel goes first in the number 4 Black Falcon Mercedes. On the 3rd row is number 76, Marvin Kirchhofer. He starts the ARM Motorsport Aston, and 88 on the outside of that row is Raffaele Marciello. 563, the winning car of yesterday, double winners now this year. Marco Mappelli, Andrea Caldarelli, the championship leaders, with number 11, the Audi of Frederic Vervisch alongside. Then you've got the quick South African driver, David Perel, in the Pro-Am Rinaldi Ferrari. Christian Engelhardt, quite a long way back on the grid, but he will line up 10th in the Grasser Racing Team Lamborghini. Oscar Tunjo from the Silver Cup is alongside the Lexus in the hands of the Brit, Jack Hawksworth, on the 6th row. On the 7th row of the grid, you'll find Jim Plough, the quicker of the 2 drivers in the ACA ASP Team's Pro-Am entry, along with Mauro Ricci. And then you've got Phil Keane, very, very quick British driver for Lamborghini, in number 519. Dorian Boccolacci making his GT debut this weekend. He was runner-up in Formula Renault Euro Cup a few years ago to Lando Norris. He's got Andrea Bertolini alongside him. Marcus Winkelhock, who led here in his one and only Grand Prix, he goes from 17th on the grid. Timo Bogoslawski in number 90 is alongside. Then there is the Lamborghini in the hands of Diego Menchaca. The Mexican has Australian Nick Foster for company. Thomas Neubauer, winner at Brands Hatch, lines up only 21st alongside Hugo de Sadelier. 23rd on the grid is the Jamie Green-driven Audi, the DTM Ace guesting with Kim Lewis-Schramm. Milan Doc lines up alongside, and on the 13th row of the grid you find the Australian Shea Davis and then Wolfgang Triller, with the last car on the grid being the Ferrari of Steve Earle. But Clemens Schmidt Audi starts from the pits after an engine change after race 1. Grid is formed, grid is cleared, grid ready to go racing. As the green flag flies then, the cars are released, and Joel Duval, who is the race director this weekend, will keep an eye on how the cars form as they get to the end of this lap. And only if he's happy will he release them into battle then. Is this going to be an Audi win? Interesting that Ezequiel Perez Companc is happy with the cooler conditions. Ricky Collard suggesting that it might be slightly against the Audis in terms of bringing the tyres up to temperature. So, as ever, it's going to be critical coming through this first sequence of corners through the arena, all the way around the first sharp right, long looping left, another right, then you can accelerate down towards turns 5 and 6. And here, find yourself on the wrong line, you can lose heaps of ground, heaps of places, get yourself in trouble as well. So surviving this on the first lap is going to be absolutely key, and Dries van Thor will want to get away. This is how the championship currently looks, with Apelli Caldarelli 6 points ahead of Stolz and Engel, Mirko Bortolotti and Christian Engelhardt next in the standings, as the cars then now work their way down towards turn 5. The Audi is having a very good qualifying run coming into this race, but it's not going to be easy because, of course, in some cars you've got 2 absolute pro factory drivers. In the Audis, 1 factory driver and a quick non-factory, non-pro. So let's see how the Audi fortunes fare over the course of the next 60 minutes of racing, as the cars then now head through turn 8 at the bottom of the hill. There's this long climb here, making the run up towards the Michael Schumacher S. And Dries van Thor and Fred Vervisch, part of the winning team of the 24-hour race here earlier on in the season. There is another former winner of it, Mauro Engel, going first in number 4. So desperately keen to get ahead, stay ahead of the Caldarelli Mapelli Lamborghini, take points away from that. They're ready to go from the pit lane is Clement Schmidt. Engine change, they dropped out of the race yesterday, him and Kelvin van der Linde, which is a real shame because the South African Kelvin van der Linde had been really quick in the first part of the race, gaining places, and others actually were struggling to gain places. He was absolutely on his toes. So that car, frustratingly, starting in the pits, but let's see what progress, if any, can be made. Down they weave then now into the kink that brings them through turn 13. There on the outside of row 1, Christopher Haase, Dries van Thor then on the inside of the front row. There is Simon Gachet, much improved driver in his couple of years in Blancpain GT racing, finally a winner at Zandvoort, and Simon Gachet will take over for the second stint, the former Formula Renault racer. He's had a spell in LMP3 cars before last year coming into GT racing. He's done a lot of mileage. This is the view on board with Mauro Engel in the Mercedes then as he comes into the chicane. The 2 Audis getting themselves into the side-by-side formation. Number 1, Dries van Thor on pole. Alongside is Christopher Haase. You've got Christopher Mies then on the second row with the first non-Audi, that in the hands of Mauro Engel for company. The cars accelerating their way then now through the right-hander of turn 17, the third row. You've got Marvin Kirchhofer on the inside line, Raffaele Marciello on the outside line. The lights on the gantry are red. When the lights change, the race to get underway. Now then, who makes the best start? Good getaway by Van Thor. On the outside line is Haase. Christopher Mies lines right up behind Van Thor, ready to try to dive up the inside as they head into turn 1. And Mies goes ahead of Haase. Here comes Engel up the inside line. The Mercedes tries to go third. It's going to be a real heart-in-mouth moment, this. Haase into the back of Mies. Kirchhofer run out wide, and Engel gets third there. Look, as they wriggle out of turn 1, and there's contact. Around goes a Ferrari off. Also goes Raffaele Marciello. That's David Perel's Ferrari that's in strife. John Watson, it's happened at turn 2. Contact already.
I mean, for Marciello to get involved in that incident so early, that is a surprise, and certainly will have blown any opportunity for that 88 Mercedes-Benz to get anywhere near the podium.
So big drama. David Perel really frustrating as well because he qualified so well yesterday. The South African driver then finds himself off the road as the leaders drop downhill. Now, there was contact at turn 1 between the Audis. The one that has really come off worse out of that, seemingly, is Haase, because he's fallen back behind Mauro Engel as they drop downhill for the first time into turn 8. Dries van Thor leads, then a gap already. Mies second, Engel third, fourth is Haase, and then fifth is the first of the Lamborghinis, meaning that Andrea Caldarelli is on his toes, getting up the order, and this is Mauro Engel's view. He's got to stay ahead of that Lamborghini no matter what else happens in this race.
Absolutely, and the disappointment of having that penalty for contact in the pit lane and unsafe release, that's got to be totally forgotten about. This is a new race, a new opportunity starting in the second row of the grid. Mauro Engel has made good progress, but the 25 Audi all over the rear of the Mercedes coming through turn 12.
On board here with Engel, that's Christopher Mies just up the road ahead then now as the cars accelerate down towards turn 13, and Christopher Hassler is crawling all over the back of Mario Engel. So is this the chance for the Audi? Hassler looks tentatively to the inside. There's no use trying to unsettle Engel because he is a real pro and he knows his way around one of these Mercedes better than most. Look at Hassler though, he's on his toes, and so too is Caldarelli doing his usual late break dive bomb effect almost into turn 17.
Yeah, so you can see Simon Plet having just sitting, I guess I should say, looking and watching and waiting of what's going to happen. But Dries Van Voor has used that set of, no, they weren't quite a new set of tyres, but certainly the most fresh of anybody in the grid to pull out what is a 1.2 second advantage at the end of the first lap. But the battle for third and fourth place, Christopher Hassler all over the back of Mario Engel. Now, is that rain? No, it's not. Those are just damage to the covering on the windscreen. Christopher Hassler down into turn 3. And Caldarelli again doing what he did yesterday. He's able to get the nose of that Lamborghini really up tight into a corner. Maybe not quite as good on the exit as those he's pursuing, but certainly the entry to the corner, that Lamborghini is the best of the field.
Marvin Kirchhofer is staying with them, isn't he? Then in 7th place, Oscar Chunho. 8th is Jim Pla, heading Pro-Am. 9th, Jack Hawksworth. 10th is Marcus Winkelhock as the cars plunge downhill. But right now, Dries Van Voor, he's doing exactly what was asked of him. Build a gap. The last thing he needs is a safety car to erode his good work. Same in a sense true for Christopher Mies, whereas really the first pro-pro combination of really evenly matched drivers, you could argue, is Engel and Stolz running in 3rd place. But Van Voor is getting away. He's already 1.2 seconds to the good as the cars here climb the hill once again. Looking further back, what progress from Caldarelli? Well, he's still crawling all over the back of Hassler. Kirchhofer is in 6th, and there, Dorian Boccolacci's Audi runs a little bit wide up the curve at the Schumacher S.
Kicking up the dust on the exit of the Schumacher S's up the hill. And then, again, look, you can just see what Dries Van Voor, having clear air, no compromise he needs to put into his driving style. He can use those fresh Pirelli tyres to the maximum effect. It was 1.2 seconds when they came across the line at the end of lap 1. There's going to be a further increase back on board with Christopher Hassler. That's the view he's got. That's the rear. The Mercedes tries again to follow into the corner, but it's the exit really that's going to count when it comes both to lap time, but principally defense of your position.
So Van Voor over the line, the gap up to 2.1 seconds, then a further 0.6 back is Engel. Now where is the next shuffle going to come from as the cars drop down towards turn 1? On board with Caldarelli running in 5th place, and ahead of him he can see Christopher Hassler crawling all over the back of Mario Engel. Go on, he thinks, attack, take some points off him. Down the pit lane is coming Raffaele Marciello, so his torrid weekend is getting no better. Damage sustained on the first lap means that Marciello is into the pit lane.
Andrea Caldarelli doing a bit of rallycross, getting the inside 2 wheels right up over and beyond the curb on the inside of the exit of turn 3. And that's the work that these guys have been doing with the Lamborghini to get it to absolutely the point where they know they've got a car that in its own air certainly is very quick, but even in a pursuit, as it's saying right now, is able to do things no one else can currently do.
Andrea Bertolini's car goes through the 52 black and white AF Corsa Ferrari, and that bodes very ill, doesn't it, for 88? Day done if it's going into its box, so huge disappointment for Raffaele Marciello and for Vincent Abril. Race done, and let's see if we can piece together how it ended up with the damage. We know there was a Ferrari involved. Here's the start first of all. It is blast off. This is Andrea Caldarelli's view as the cars charge down towards turn 1. Now, have a look. Green Ferrari of David Perel. This is on board with Engel. He turns through the first corner. All concertinas amongst the Audis, so he ducks up the inside and gets 3rd, but then it all kicks off behind.
Oh, he goes a nudge, yes. Yeah. So it was the snooker ball effect. Suddenly the car hit on the right, then bounced across and caught Raffaele Marciello, so he was a victim, nothing more or less, so he will feel very disappointed indeed. But look at Hassler. No, it's not Hassler coming up.
No, it's Winkelhock, isn't it? Yes. It was a sideways Fred Verviche that was the catalyst for all of that. The blue Audi was sideways, so Fred getting sideways on cold tires was the trigger. As over the line goes Dries Van Voor ahead of Christopher Mies. The gap is, what, 2.1 seconds. In 3rd, it's still Engel, Hassler 4th, 5th Caldarelli, 6th Kirchhofer, and then there's a gap opening up before Oscar Chunho runs in 7th place. Hawksworth 8th, Pla 9th, Winkelhock 10th. But Dries Van Voor is just absolutely storming.
He is, but that last lap there was no gain from Van Voor. Christopher Mies pegged that advantage back to the 2.1 seconds. Mario Engel a further 9/10 of a second behind, and he's still got Christopher Hassler. And there you see that this group of cars, the top 6, Mervyn Kirchhofer and the Aston Martin, rounding those out. So 563 Lamborghini we saw in part 2 of yesterday's 1 hour sprint race, outstanding. So far, he's not been able to do very much. The strength of the Lamborghini will come further into the race, principally when it gets that lower fuel load, and it is different on its tyres to those that are around it.
There's 87, Jim Pla heading Pro-Am from Andrea Bertolini, and third in Pro-Am is Phil Keane in the Lamborghini number 519. And Christian Engelhardt, incidentally, way back, still in 16th place. Now here's another replay. Look at the blue Audi. Vervish gets tapped sideways, and then...
Yeah, I mean, Vervish got caught between the 333 Ferrari. They had contact, and Raffaele Barcelo really was doing nothing wrong, keeping out of trouble, and then all of a sudden Vervish gets snookered across the racetrack and into the side of the Mercedes, and that's effectively it all over for the 88. A disappointing weekend all told for ACA ASP with that particular model.
David Pirelli has got going again. He's running in 24th, but last in class in Pro-Am. This is Christopher Haas's view. He's dropped back a little bit on this lap from Mauro Engel, charging up towards the chicane, but Haas is doing his best, of course, to keep Caldarelli at bay behind him. Through the chicane. Softer version of it, harder to overtake there because there isn't really a stop-start sequence to it, and Haas braking late, getting close to the tail there of the Mercedes.
I know it's sort of repeating ourselves, but once the Mercedes gets its tyre up to its operating temperature, it takes maybe a lap or a little longer, because the Audi is slightly more aggressive on the tyre in these cooler conditions than yesterday, but actually on the grid it was not as cool as it had been first thing in the morning. So probably about 8 Celsius cooler than Friday or Saturday afternoon. Look again, the defence that's going on coming down into turn 1. That was Phil Keane trying to make a way through Thomas Borgolowski, and he's got the sister car Bonchalacci directly behind him, and contact, that's it, the peril coming in, and the crabbing, so clearly a rear tyre has been damaged, or maybe a rear suspension, more likely damaged.
A legacy of that clash with Marciello. So the two drivers involved, both into the pits, and Frederic Vervish down in 21st position, badly delayed in all of that as well. So it's a rather jumbled order. I was saying a moment or two ago that Christian Engelhardt's way back in 15th with a huge amount of work to do, having been in the lead, that car number 63 Lamborghini, for the bulk of yesterday's race. Dries van Thor right now leads by 2.3 seconds, and this is on board the Lamborghini dropping downhill. This is the view as you get to turn 8. Dries van Thor.
This is the view uphill.
Indeed, right. Dries van Thor leading Christopher Mies, and there is Mauro Engel. Now, Engel's dropping back, isn't he? He's not staying with the two leading Audis.
No, and Dries van Thor has managed on that last lap to further increase the advantage. It stabilised a couple of laps ago, but he's once again managed to eke out another 0.2 of a second, and the gap second to third has now just over that 1 second, was 0.9 of a second 1 lap ago. Now it's just over a second, so it's a couple of tenths in a lap. It's visual. We're not looking at that battle right now, so the top 3 are now covered by 3.5 seconds.
Further down the order there, look, is the Timo Boguslavski Mercedes 63 going through his Christian Engelhardt, stuck behind Phil Keane's Lamborghini, and that, of course, is from a different team. Keane, again, like Caldarelli, able to brake later, going into turn 17, different setup on those cars from the Grata entry, and right now Engelhardt is really struggling. He cannot make progress. It was not a great qualifying, which rather marred them in the midfield, and there Christopher Haas going through, still in 4th place. He's dropping away from Engel, isn't he now? So the gaps are just starting to stretch up a little bit at the front.
Yeah, I think it is a tyre story for the entire race. So it's how you bring your tyre in, how you manage your tyre in the front. So opening laps always tend to be over-aggressive in terms of how you use your car. Then once the race begins to settle down, then you can control how you use the car, how you use the tyre. But certainly Andrea Caldarelli, in his pursuit of Christopher Haas, is trying to get closer to the back of the Audi and try and give him a work over. And we saw him do that very successfully in that drive through the field, and ultimately to win the race, the 1 hour race yesterday.
Caldarelli looked the quicker out of him and Mappelli yesterday, but if he's not making progress in this stint, can Mappelli do it in the second stint in this race? We'll have to wait and see, because he will go up against the likes of Simon Gachet, Lucas Stoltz, Charles Riet and Ezequiel Perez Compang in that second stint, out of which Stoltz is probably the gun. Yeah,
and I think probably a story for everybody in the field. In the early phases of this race, when the cars are on their maximum of the fuel allowance that they will be using, as the fuel loads reduce, some cars respond more positively than others, and that particular car, the 563 Lamborghini, is one of those that is more positive as its fuel load reduces.
To the chicane they come. Dries van Voor, then the race leader. 2.5 seconds to the good. There is Marvin Kirchhofer. The SRO Motorsports Aston Martin rides the curb. Kirchhofer doing a good job here in 6th place. He's doing his best to stay with that leading quintet. He's just dropped off the back of Caldarelli a little, but he's clear in turn of Oscar Tunjo in the Silver Cup Audi that he shares with Rick Brokers. Over the line, and now Hauser having to go defensive because Caldarelli has decided enough is enough. He needs to get on with this and start to push, and he's doing just that.
And of course, everybody would have learned from what they would have watched. They would have watched the race yesterday once everybody got back for their debrief, and they would have been aware of what Caldarelli has got the capacity in his. Look again, you see how early, look, he's taken half the inside of the corner. He couldn't get any closer to Christopher Hauser. It was this part of the racetrack that he ultimately got into the lead by going the long way around the outside of Christian Engelhardt, coming through turn 5 and then turn 6, the downhill right-hander.
So Caldarelli shadowing Hauser, who has to go really defensive there. Look to the inside line at turn 5, cannot afford to leave even half a gap now for Caldarelli because he's on a mission, and that Lamborghini, just the poise of it now, it's coming alive, isn't it, as the stint wears on, as the car is behaving exactly as the Italian wants it to. Christopher Hauser, Audi expert, Audi stalwart, comes through turn 8. Simon Gachet nearest us, looks on. Stefan Ortelli at the other side of the drivers seated, watching the monitors, looking at the data, and there, over the curve, goes Hauser. Chasing after him is Caldarelli. This is for 4th and 5th. Double winners this year in the Lamborghini, singleton winners in the Audi. Hauser and Gachet ahead of Caldarelli and Marco Mappelli.
Now what we saw yesterday, it took Caldarelli a little bit of time to work his way up through the field. But again, as with the race leader, Dries van Voor, who's now got a 2.7 advantage, once Caldarelli got ahead of that happened, the 63 Lamborghini of Christian Engelhardt, he just stormed away. So the pace, the natural pace on board here with the Lamborghini is not the pace it's running at, because he's being controlled by the speed of Christopher Hauser directly in front.
There they go into turn 17, a little bit wider there maybe goes Caldarelli. Does he lose touch with Hauser? The lead gap, by the way, was 2.7 seconds last time, and now it's up to 2.9. So Van Voor is getting away from Christopher Mies. With Antonio Liuzzi looks on from the FFF Racing Team garage as 563 closes right up. Why the number? 63 is a Lamborghini number and 5 is a lucky number in Chinese, a Chinese-funded team. And the FFF Racing Team, winners of Blancpain GT Series Asia last year, come now nose to tail with the Audi of Christopher Hauser. The Santa Lot car just ahead, but look at that, there's barely any gap at all.
That's about as close as they've been at any phase. We're now on to lap 8. So Caldarelli looks one way, but he do the bluff and send it down the inside into turn 5. Well, not in position. So is he going to try and set it up for turn 6? No, he's not. He needs to be further alongside Christopher Hauser, and Christopher Hauser ain't going to give him any slack whatsoever. And if he's going to run him wide, he will have no reason not to do so.
While they're squabbling, look, Kirchhofer in the Aston is coming back at them in 6th place. That gap's come down, hasn't it?
It has indeed, and Kirchhofer just going to sit there, watch this action. He has got maybe the thought that, well, let these two squabble like a pair of ferrets in a bag, and if anything goes wrong, I'll pick up the pieces. Easier to do it that way than to try and make it a 3-way battle, because inevitably that will then result in all 3 running at the pace of Christopher Hauser.
And in turn, Kirchhofer is getting away from Oscar Tunjo. Now, Jack Hawksworth in 8th place in the Lexus. He's doing a really good, solid job in that car.
Absolutely. I mean, there's certainly the Lexus. We didn't really have it as a car. Started back in the 6th row of the grid, 12th position, up into 8th position. So excellent drive indeed by Jack Hawksworth.
That car run by Tech 1 Racing, Sarah Simon Abadai's team, chasing Oscar Tunjo, who is the Silver Cup class leader at the moment, and well clear in the class as well, because the opposition is 13th, Tunjo running in 7th place. So the Silver Cup leading WRT Audi Oscar Tunjo and Rick Brokers comes now out of turn 17, and Jack Hawksworth charging on behind him in that Lexus. As the leaders go by, the gap between the top 2 Audis is a WRT 1-2, and it's now 3 seconds between Van Voor and Mies. There is 87, that's Jim Pla. He is leading the Pro-Am category in the Mercedes from ACA ASP that he shares with Mauro Ricci. Jim Pla, in fairness, is the quicker of the 2, so it's no real surprise to have him at the pointy end. The challenge is coming from Andrea Bertolini, 11th overall, and then Phil Keane, who is in 14th overall. 9th is where you find this car at the moment, the Pro-Am leader. And then the leading Am is Wolfgang Triller in his Ferrari, which is currently in 25th, ahead of a similar sister car, Steve Earle, 1 place behind him.
The Audi running behind Jim Pla is Marcus Winkelhock, and they had a diabolical race yesterday. Just the car, whatever they did, they could not make it work. Almost undrivable. They've changed the car back to the spec of the 25 car. That's the Gachet Christopher Hasse car. Marcus Winkelhock much happier. And as you can see, the performance has returned. So Marcus Winkelhock currently rounding out the top 10, chasing down Jimmy Plough.
Whereas poor old Christian Engelhardt in 15th place at the back of this shot just cannot make progress. He was struggling in qualifying, and that Lamborghini just is not at the races today, is it?
No, it's not. And I mean, its position yesterday was more due to the qualifying and the great run that Mirko Bortolotti gave it in that opening stint. Christian Engelhardt was able to consolidate up until the closing laps, when then Caldarelli got through. But that's the difference between starting at the front and being in the mid-pack, as was the 63 Lamborghini back on the fifth row of the grid.
Marco Mappelli, you saw getting ready as the car's now slingshot out of the chicane, back on board with Caldarelli. Hasse ahead, brake for turn 17. Hasse goes a little bit deep there, but is this going to be the move from Caldarelli?
It's certainly an opportunity, and Caldarelli will have been on that immediately, but of course easy for Hasse to defend. He tends to make a very late cut coming down. Watch and see, there is the cut, but of course Caldarelli almost preempted it. Now he's got to back out and think about, well, what can I do? I can get really close at the exit of 1 through turn 2, turn 3, I'm kissing the back of the Audi, and then through 4, 5 and 6. Well, if an opportunity arises, he's there to take advantage of it. Hasse's not given them anything to work with.
Absolutely nose to tail, these two. It's allowing, of course, Maro Engel to get away, and the further Engel gets away up the road, the worse that becomes points-wise for Caldarelli and Mappelli. Yes, they lead the championship, but ideally they want to stretch that lead, not be outscored by the Mercedes. We're on lap 10, 41.5 minutes to go. Pit window, remember, 25 to 35 minutes. Everybody has to do a 62-second stop line to line, pit in to pit out.
We saw the leaders, the top 4, top 5, all came in at the very earliest opportunity yesterday. Now, I don't know whether that will be the case. If I was running Dries van Thor's car, the pace he's got and the gap he's built up 3.1 seconds, I would probably keep him in as long as possible. It depends if people that do come in earlier and get back out, it's about track position. So that will be the key for the WRRD team to ensure that when they do the driver change, that Ezekiel Perez compact gets into clear air.
And now look, number 90, which is Timo Boguslavski, under attack from Phil Keane. The Lamborghini trying to force a mistake out of the Mercedes, which runs wide over the curb. We've had people spinning there in both this category and support races over the weekend as they try and take too much curb. Look at the red Audi as well of Jamie Green up into 18th place. Jamie adapting from DTM machinery, get that out of his brain, get GT3, very different type of race car, into his brain. And he's getting quicker and quicker as the weekend goes on. We saw him at Spa, of course, doing a good job in the land car. Now for Phoenix, heading through turn 13. Timo Boguslavski here is the cork in the bottle.
Indeed he is. For Jamie Green, is a bit of a culture shock coming from a DTM car with the levels of downforce. Back to this battle for fourth place again. Christopher Hasse using everything that he's entitled to do, just putting his car on the inside, denying Andrea Caldarelli, forcing him to look at the long way around, but it's a slightly longer distance, and therefore any gain initially is lost just simply because he's got to go slightly further. But again, back, and Hasse now using so much of the inside of turn 3 that almost all 4 wheels are off the tarmac.
Now,
certainly in turn 4, both of them.
Yeah. That's, going off is part of the line, really, isn't it? Dries van Thor, absolute best in the last sector last time. Dries van Thor, fastest lap of the race. Now, Van Thor to Caldarelli, first to 5th, 6.7 seconds. So Caldarelli is stuck. He is losing touch a little with the race leader. His last lap in the Lamborghini was a 57.1, but actually quicker than Maro Engel. So as Simon Gachet gets ready, Maro Engel is not storming away from Caldarelli, is he?
No, it's not. And I mean, everybody has kind of got what they've got. They're not really looking to see a magic button that's going to find out another half a second a lap. The one car that potentially could do that is this car, the 563 Lamborghini, but as long as it's locked into its 5th position, Christopher Hasse is not about to give it up unless he gets caught maybe towards the end of the stint, and it's unlikely you're going to catch up with the tail enders. It would only be a car that might have had to make an unforced pit stop that would be out of sequence. So Christopher Hasse, all he has to do is make sure he gets his brake points consistently and correct, and then there's not an awful lot that I can see Andrea Caldarelli going to be able to do to change the overall positions, top 5.
So it's going to have to be done either on the pit stops or the pace of Marco Mappelli versus Simon Gachet in the second stint. Through turn 17 they come. 2 more laps and the window will be open. How about this traffic jam? Timur Boguslavski has got the other half of the grid all stacked up behind him. Phil Keane looking one way and then the other up towards the chicane. Behind him there is Engelhardt. Then you've got the Hugo de Sadelier driven Aston Martin ahead of Dorian Boccolacci and Jamie Green, 17th and 18th. And in fact, Jamie Green's gone ahead of Boccolacci now. There he is. So Jamie Green up into 17th spot, all over the back of Hugo de Sadelier. Out of turn 17 they come, over the line. 38 minutes still on the clock. And Boguslavski is doing a really good job of fending them all off.
He's holding them all up, certainly, but fending them off. But look, Phil Keane goes one way, trying to find the way. Now, can he get side by side? He's in danger of being run off the racetrack by the Mercedes, and that's going to allow Christian Engelhardt to get up alongside, but not quite. Engelhardt was reading that and thinking, well, I can make a move, but the Aston then running further behind to settle there. He also thought, well, I can have a bit of this action. And further back, Jamie Green, with all that experience racing here in Germany in DTM, well, he knows about overtaking.
Absolutely, he also knows about aero, but he's stuck at the moment behind Hugo de Sadelier, who's ever improving as well in his first year of Blancpain GT, moving from LMP3, LMP2 style sports cars. Dorian Boccolacci in the number 24 Santalok Audi. First GT racing weekend for the former Formula Renault Euro Cup runner-up to Lando Norris. Downhill they plunge then. We're on lap 12 here at the Nurburgring. It's race 2 of the penultimate weekend in Blancpain GT World Challenge Europe, and Phil Keane again having a little look on the inside of that Mercedes.
2 minutes to go before pit lane window is open. So this lap and then the next lap, and that will be lap 13. If anybody is going to come in, then it will be at that point. It will be at the end of lap 12, going on to lap 13.
Raffaele Marciello, the one retirement that we've had from the race with Vincent Abril. There is Christian Engelhardt, who is just not making any progress at all. Really struggling in that GRT Lamborghini. Powers down the hill then now as the race leaders go across the line. Frederic Verviche's Audi also, after its delay at the start, down in 21st, not making progress either.
So Christopher Haase, just looking at that view, has dropped back now 2.2 seconds from third place Mauro Engel, and he's got his mirrors absolutely still filled with Andrea Caldarelli. So a little bit of the pressure has been taken off Mauro Engel, and he's focusing on trying finding a way around Christopher Mies, but no easy task. 3/4 of a second. There it is, the back of the Audi, and there from on board Mauro Engel's Mercedes. That's the view he's got.
So Engel chases Mies, that gap 7/10 of a second, and now Christopher Haase's car trying to grow in width once more to keep Caldarelli at bay. There is Engel. Now, is he getting any nearer to Christopher Mies? As I say, that gap 7/10 of a second last time around, and actually it was a quicker lap from the Audi than the Mercedes, so Engel's a bit stuck for the moment.
Yeah, the thing is, he doesn't have that pressure behind that may have been a marginal distraction, so Christopher Haase has dropped back significantly. This is the battle ultimately for the top 4. Christopher Haase, as we see Dries van Voor, I mean, absolutely committed all the way up through the Schumacher S's, and gap now up to 4 seconds over second place Christopher Mies. Christopher Mies, who is pretty mighty in an Audi, make no mistake, has got no answer whatsoever. Be fair to Christopher Mies, the tyres on Van Voor's Audi were virtually a brand new set of tyres.
And we know how good Van Voor is then as he comes down the hill once again. There through is Mauro Engel then in third spot. Haase is still fourth, but Christopher Mies, whose younger brother has been racing in the GT4 doubleheader this weekend, heads up towards the chicane. Second, the pit window is now open. Dries van Voor will stay out because he's quicker than his co-driver. So Christopher Mies is the less experienced Charles Witt. But interestingly, in early to get out of the traffic maybe, Mauro Engel also in, Caldarelli to give way to Marco Mappelli.
Yes, I mean, these two drivers, two teams have decided we're not making progress in traffic. Let's try and do something in the pit stops that we can get out quickly. Hopefully, in the case of the number 4 Mercedes, it will be a safe release, which is what caught them out yesterday. So the Mercedes, the first pit box in the pit lane, the Lamborghini virtually the last one in the pit lane. So Andrea Caldarelli, who wasn't able to do what he achieved yesterday afternoon, is going to hand the car over to Marco Mappelli, and like the car will be different to the car Mappelli had when he had that first stint in Saturday's run.
So there comes to its pit box the Lamborghini. There are others pouring in, including Engelhardt. including Boguslawski, as there is the race leader, Dries van Thor, who has just got to push and try and give Ezequiel Perez Companc as big a lead as he possibly can. Downhill they plunge once again. And off the road at pit in, now that is Thomas Neubauer, isn't it?
I think it is. I mean, that was almost an incident where he hit the pit lane, the divider between the entry to the pit lane and the racetrack. So that was very late. Either he made a mistake coming out of the chicane just prior to pit lane entrance, or he made a very late call about deciding when I'm going to come in or not.
And if it was a late call, he's gone the wrong side of the traffic cone that the stewards don't like you going the wrong side of. Otherwise, he was too fast and nearly fell back onto the circuit. We'll try and have a replay of that, but either way, that's bad news for Neubauer.
Fabian Schiller in the Mercedes, did he get out ahead of the 563 Lamborghini or not? I can't quite.
He's ahead of 63, but he was when he came in. So
that's Mirko Bortolotti.
Yeah, he's maintained track position. Then there, the number 90 Mercedes, still ahead of the Lamborghini. Away goes 89, which is Nico Bastien. And we understand that the car there you're looking at did clip the barrier, had to reverse and then carry on down the pit lane. Just came in too quickly and slithered. It's on the inside of that shot towards the barrier as in comes Mees out of second place.
Again, probably a very good call from WRT. Get that WRT car in, and as Christopher Haas coming in as well.
Mees up the curb on the pit lane even. They press on until they get to the line. Then they hit the speed limiter. In there comes the Steve Earle Ferrari. Christopher Mees down the pit road, Christopher Haas behind him. So it's Van Thor leading Kirchhofer now by 9 seconds as the order is shuffled because of these pit stops. So Simon Gachet takes over number 25. Christopher Haas leaps out. There is number 4. So that now is Luca Stolz.
Don't know who's the quicker of the two, Luca Stolz or Maro Engel. They're slightly different, but both quiet in their personalities. So Luca Stolz certainly wants to make up for what happened yesterday, to try and get themselves into a position, and there they are. Is that behind? Is that the 563? Have they overtaken the number 4 in the pit stops?
Looks like they may have done, doesn't it? So there away goes number 2. That is now in the hands of Charles Weert. So number 4 Mercedes, Luca Stolz at the wheel of it, comes up towards the timing line, chasing Mapelli. Weert will stay ahead, so also will Gachet for Santa Locke, and there Marco Mapelli comes through ahead of number 4 in the hands of Luca Stolz.
Looks to me like that Black Falcon's pit stop has lost them in effect by at least 2 places.
Looking at the relative pit stop times, the pit time for Mapelli was very nearly 6 seconds quicker than Black Falcon.
Yeah, I mean, they've lost certainly 1 place, but maybe I just need to wait until they all complete this lap to get nearer to where everyone is. Still race leader, and we've got another 6 minutes before the pit lane closes, so Dries van Thor, no reason to come in. He's got a 9-second advantage over now second place Mervyn Kirchhofer in the Aston Martin. Probably not particularly relevant, but nevertheless it's important because Dries van Thor will stay out until the pit stop window is about to shut before he brings the car in and to hand over to Ezequiel Perez Companc.
So down towards turn 1 goes Dries van Thor, but a very slow stop for reasons as yet unexplained for Black Falcon has cost that Mercedes dear. It's cost them a place, and of course significantly it's a place to the championship rival. So what can Stolz do about Mapelli to try to get the place back? Well, first of all he's got to catch, then he's got to try and find a way past, and passing, as we've been saying all weekend, is not easy here.
No, it's not, and both drivers will be on fresh tyres, not new tyres but fresh tyres. So there will be no inherent advantage to one or other driver. It'll be how that tyre then responds with 30 minutes, half the race distance yet to run.
Now there is Luca Stolz going through. That's the race leading Audi. Out on his own now, he's Dries van Thor. He'll stay out to the end of the window. Comes then down towards the Schumacher S once more. New tyres for Stefan Ortelli, who will go into the race in 24. There is Van Thor then on his way to the S. Climbs the hill, uses the flat curve here on the second element of it. And this is a replay of number 4 letting the Aston Martin come in, because yesterday they got done for an unsafe release. So rather than risk it, they were ultra cautious but lost time.
And indeed, I mean, and you can't say anything other. They played it totally correctly and fairly. They might have rolled the dice again and maybe gotten away with it, but it's such a marginal where you've got 2 cars, one coming in. There's the crossover That's the danger point, and that certainly was the Aston Martin was crossing over the path that the Mercedes wanted to follow to get back onto the outside lane of the pit lane. So entering the pit lane, you've got to stay in the left-hand lane. Exiting the pit lane, you've got to get across it as quickly as possible. So it was certainly something that Black Falcon team were aware of, and they played the safe card.
Losing nearly 7 seconds in the pits better than another drive-through. You've seen the leader come in, Dries Van Thor then, to give way to Ezequiel Perez Compact. There he is, then the little Belgian driver down the pit road. Let's see where that car blends back in, and we'll get the proper order at the end of this next lap as well. Surprisingly early, in my thought. The only issue is, are they going to go back into the race in the lead, assuming they have a normal WRT pit stop? That's what they should do. New tyres being ready for the car, and Ezequiel Perez Compact takes it over, then he will blast away in number 1. On his toes is there, Charles Weert, number 2. So the Belgian driver, whose father was one of the founders of the WRT concern, comes through turn 17. Compact's going to keep the race lead. Charles Weert, who had a win with Dries Van Thor mid-season, he's going to be second, but look at the queue of cars behind, all trying to be third now. Yes, and you have to say that WRT, the gap that they've pulled on the second WRT car, probably marginally greater than it was before they would have come in for the respective pit stops. Again, Marco Mappelli looking to find a way down the inside of Simon Gachet. Now whether Mappelli is going to find Gachet an easier challenge than Capelli, not Capelli. Again, this onboard shot from the Lamborghini from Caldarelli and Christopher Haase. So interesting to see if one driver can manage a better job than the co-driver. Lucas Stoltz, though, has got right onto the back of the Lamborghini, hasn't he? So he's all fired up after the slower pit stop. And now, if Mappelli's going to get stuck behind Simon Gachet for a lap or two, this is Stoltz's chance to challenge. So he's going to try and take full advantage of this. 27 minutes of the race still to go. Stoltz, as we said at the start of the race, the Black Falcon driver, that car has got to be ahead of the Lamborghini. And one might say Lucas Stoltz in a Mercedes and Marco Mappelli in a Lamborghini. I mean, it's almost toss a coin to see which of that two combinations is ultimately maybe the quicker overall, as the Ferrari 333 makes a pit stop. And I would like to think that Lucas Stoltz thinks that he may have a marginal advantage over Marco Mappelli. Certainly over the Schumacher exit, the Schumacher S's. Everybody using curbing. They need to be careful on the outside. There's a lot of rubbish on the outside of those Schumacher S's. But again, look up the inside, trying to force the issue, having to get out of it, but certainly the intent is there. And Marco Mappelli realizes he's got to focus as much, if not more, on what's happening behind him than his concentration is trying to find a way ahead of the Audi directly ahead of him. Yeah, Lucas Stoltz is not just prepared to sit there and wait, is he? He is, as you say, forcing the issue. Mappelli, of course, is still stuck behind Simon Gachet. Into turn 17 they come, so all of these cars now with the second stint driver on board. Very deep into turn 17 goes Stoltz. Can he then fire up the inside onto the pit straight? The grunt and go Mercedes chases after the Lamborghini. They go over the timing line, and the gap between them is 3/10. Now bear in mind that ahead of them, ahead of this trio, is Ricky Collard. Again on the pit stops, the 76 Aston Martin has jumped all of them. So you've got the two Audis, and then Ricky Collard is running in third place. I mean, that's an outstanding effort by SRO Motorsport to turn the car around as quickly as that, get it back out. Ricky, of course, delighted to be running in third place, but knowing that behind him there are three hard chargers, notably Lucas Stoltz, who has got to do everything that he possibly can to finish ahead of the Lamborghini to keep their championship hopes alive and go 1 week from this weekend. We're in Budapest, another racetrack, tight, sinuous, overtaking is difficult. Pole, or not pole position, but certainly your grid position is absolutely imperative. And they need to go there with as good a points haul out of this weekend as possible. So winners yesterday, Mappelli and Caldarelli took over the championship lead. Stoltz and Engel delayed after that drive-through for the unsafe release in yesterday's race, and they're stuck behind the championship rival car here after a slow release today. Up the hill, and Ricky Collard has got a good gap, hasn't he, here over Gachet? He's over a second to the good. Stoltz, is he close enough to have a go this time again? He rattles it over the curb. Yeah, I mean, he's using everything that he possibly can to aim and keep contact with Marco Mappelli in the Lamborghini, but principally just to maybe unrattle Mappelli, to keep putting the Mercedes in the mirrors, one side and the other side, and try and make Mappelli look backwards more than he's looking forward. But your drivers at this level, they're not going to be intimidated to that degree. Maybe if you're a newcomer, you might face that type of challenge and collapse under it.
but not Marco Mappelli. But just the Lamborghini looks slightly unnervy going into the chicane. But again, different line. Lucas Stoltz takes a much later cut to try and get the straighter exit off this final turn to give them that little bit of additional traction and drive as they come on to what would be almost the second quickest part in terms of top speed here at Nurburgring. But the gap is almost equidistant between these three cars running third, fourth and fifth.
So there is the race leader, Ezequiel Perez Compact, who has not been a winner in an Audi. So of course we had success for him in Lamborghini days when he was part of the Grasser squad, but he had that big accident in the Endurance Cup race at Paul Ricard that knocked him about quite badly. It's great to have him back. Good to see him in the lead of the race as well. There in second place is Charles Weert. Now the gap is 2.6 seconds and Weert is lapping quicker, so the gap between the leading Audis is coming down.
Well, Charles Weert did an outstanding job in Misano earlier this summer. Sort of came of age, 18-year-old. But these are both WRT Audi cars. There is no favour given, but one would assume that the number one car, which has been the dominant car, Dries van Voor, with an outstanding qualifying lap on Saturday morning, that they would probably let the cars finish in that order rather than go to war and potentially lose both lead and second place.
Ricky Collard third, there's Simon Gachet still fourth, fifth is Marco Mappelli, in sixth place Lucas Stoltz, and that lead gap in the first sector down by another 10th. So Charles Weert and Christopher Mies, yes, Charles Weert has been a winner, but that was with Dries van Voor, so as a combination these two haven't scored a win together. Down the hill comes the very distinctive bright yellow Audi then. Second place it is, and inching up, creeping up onto the back of the leading car.
22 minutes remaining, and visually the gap has closed down, so it is pressure coming from Charles Weert, undoubtedly, and all Perez Compact does need to do is just be consistent, not try and react too quickly or overreact to the pace that we're seeing from the second place Charles Weert.
And interestingly, in third, Ricky Collard, absolute best middle sector.
Yep.
So is he catching Charles Weert? Let's have a look. Yes, fastest lap of the race, Ricky Collard, fantastic. So the young Brit in third place, the best that we've seen out of him, out of the car, out of the team all season.
Absolutely.
And he's hunting down the Audis.
Well, we saw a great sort of inaugural year from our motorsport last year. It hasn't been quite as magical so far this year, but this is a very, very strong run from Ricky Collard, and tucks the nose of the ass and stays on the black stuff, doesn't run way over the curbing on the inside on the exit of the corner. Well, probably more economical than others around him, and maybe that economy is why he is able to pull second place closer towards him. He's not using the tyre as aggressively, maybe as the two leading Audis directly ahead.
Downhill he drops then, so the British driver, fastest lap of the race to his name, hustles on in pursuit of Weert, who is catching Compact. So it's Concertina in 1, 2 and 3, and still fourth is Gachet ahead of Mappelli and Stoltz, who's 6/10 of a second back. Now even if Collard catches Weert, might he get stuck given the dramas of overtaking around here, but right now he's done another absolute best. First sector, quicker than anybody race long. Ricky Collard absolutely flying.
A man possessed.
Absolutely.
But, look, I mean, ability, there's no question about his ability. What he's now got is a car that has come alive. He has got simply one thing that those behind him and those probably ahead of him haven't got, and that's ultimately got grip, and he's using that grip to very good effect.
There is the Silver Cup leader, Rick Brochers. He's currently in 7th place overall. He's taking it over from Oscar Tuncho, and he's still ahead of the Lexus. Change of driver, but no change of place. It's Aurélien Panis, Olivier Panis' son, tucked up behind. So 7th and 8th Brokers from Panis. The leader of Pro-Am there is 87. That is now Mauro Ricci at the wheel. He's just ahead of Finlay Hutchison, who is just ahead of Tom Gamble. The two British drivers squabbling amongst themselves there. And this has been a pretty fierce fight for the last few laps. You'll see the damage on the Audi from the first lap of the race. And a long, long way back in the order is Renat Salikov, who's just done an absolute best in the last sector. Hutchison up on the inside of Ricci, gains a place on the road. That gives him 19th now.
Well, all very tight. You know, there's up on the back of the circuit, then the swoop down the hill. The Audi quicker off the corner. You could see that all of a sudden the Mercedes is going to be, wow, just about, well, did they have contact if they hadn't? It was very close to now. They switched back to the other side to try and get a dive down the inside into the chicane. Never an easy place to make a clean overtake. That was a good job, well executed.
To the inside line there goes Nico Bastian up against number 519 Lamborghini. That's in the hands of Hiroshi Hamaguchi, but he defends, and then you've got Louis Machiels in the Ferrari at the very back of this queue. So right now, Ricky Collard hustling on. The gap first to third is only 3.4 seconds. And out of all of this, there's a lot more shuffling yet to be resolved. Nico Bastien out of sequence because of the dramas that Thomas Neubauer had coming into the pit lane. He is trying to make good and get up through the field. Remember, they won outright the Silver Cup pairing at Brands Hatch in the first race.
Well, Nico Bastien is undoubtedly a pro driver in terms of ability. And when he's behind the wheel of the car, you always have to consider him as somebody who's going to be on the podium.
Look at that, way up the curve.
Yep. Getting almost a bit messy. And when you get 5 cars all fighting for one bit of the tarmac, now what? Well, in fact, there's 4 cars. You get the arithmetic right down the inside. Clean overtake. Good job, well done.
Drifts a little bit wide, but he secured that against Hamaguchi. Hamaguchi in turn keeping Louis Machiels at bay. So Nico Bastien up to 22nd. And here are the race leaders, and you can see how the gap has come down. It was 1.2 seconds last time, and Charles Weerts now with 18 minutes to go is getting closer and closer. Dries van Thor looking almost now as though he knows that the inevitable is coming. Ricky Collard was 3 seconds back. He's now 2.1 seconds back from the leader. So 2.1 covers 3 cars.
The question is, what will WRT do? Will they tell Charles Weerts to hold the position, or will they respond to the pace of Ricky Collard and the Aston Martin? When the Aston Martin gets closer to the back of the second place Audi, that's one thing. Finding a way through is a second thing. And this is where the team's role will come into play, but certainly Charles Weerts has run down Ezekiel Perez compact. But as we've been observing, Ricky Collard, this is probably the finest drive we've seen in the Blancpain Championship from Ricky Collard in a season and a half.
Absolutely right, but we're also about to see a potential move for the lead, aren't we? Because Charles Weerts is right on the back now of Ezekiel Perez compact. A flash of the lights to say, I'm quicker, I'm coming. And ideally, compact needs to let him go. He also makes just a little slip there going into turn 8. Charles Weerts farther looking on as the cars make the climb up the hill once more. Ezekiel Perez compact leading at the start of this lap by 7/10 of a second. In the first sector, it's come down by a further 4/10. And look at the way that Collard is going, because he is quicker than the 2 ahead of him.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be an overtake. I think that the WRT realised the pace of the Aston Martin is going to dictate the policy between the number 1 and number 2 Audi as to who will take the lead and who will take the checkered flag. And right now, my view is that they've got to let Weerts go because he is the quicker of the 2 Audi drivers. And Ricky Collard, you can see now, certainly not within striking distance, but within enough distance to keep the 2 Audis on their toes.
And he's busy flashing the lights as well. So 3 for the lead as they come up towards the chicane. You'll see that Stoltz in 6th has dropped back a bit from Apelli. And is the move going to come on the pit straight? That would be the obvious place to allow compact just to give a bit more room to it and then cut across and defend from Collard. But Collard, all of a sudden, he's on the attack. He's right there on the back of the number 2 Audis. They come across the line out of our window. We can see them being nose to tail. And Collard now is on the attack. So rather than giving up the lead, rather than defending the lead, compact sees in his mirrors a challenge coming. Here comes Weerts up the inside. And there's contact between the 2 as he turns in on the number 2 car. And Collard leads the way. The Aston Martin leads.
Unbelievable. That should have been an I'm looking at a puncture now for. Hold on.
What
I cannot believe you could see. Weerts' father was going nuts in the pit. They should have been an instruction a lap earlier to let the number 2 Audi get ahead of the number 1. By allowing what happened into turn 1, they've thrown the lead away. Ricky Collard did a blinding job down the inside, and now also the number 2 Audi in, and that's what I said.
Teammates, same team. The one rule is you don't bump into your teammate. Marvin Kirkover looking on, can't believe this. Ricky Collard leading the way. Brilliant opportunistic move. And really, it was him applying the pressure that completely flummoxed the WRT approach.
And I go back to my comment. There should have been an instruction a lap earlier to the number 1 Audi, let the number 2 Audi go through. The consequence of apparently not doing so, or if it was given not being enacted, is that they contacted, both of them ended up with cut down tires. Ricky Collard, it must be his birthday, it must be his anniversary, maybe he was born on a leap year as well, I don't know, but it's all come right with 14 minutes of this race remaining for our motorsport. Ricky Collard, Marvin Kirchhofer, they've done everything absolutely spotlessly so far.
Well, Ricky Collard, 3rd generation racer, and they're walking away from a crippled car, Ezekiel Perez compact. John, talk us through it.
Well, Collard made his move, but Weerts was in position. He was virtually alongside, and it's as if Perez compact had no insight whatsoever as to where Weerts' Audi was. And that, to me, well, I would not want to be in the debriefing but those two drivers trying to explain their actions, because in my view, Ezekiel Perez Compact ought to have been aware of where Wirtz was and ought to have given him room.
Well, Ricky Collard leads the way then. His father, Rob Collard, one of the mainstays of the British Touring Car Championship for 2 decades. His grandfather, the late Mick Duffy Collard, absolute legend in oval racing, in hot rod racing. And Ricky himself, who came initially from single-seaters through into GT cars, making a real name for himself. And with that move and with that pressure applied, he has managed to really unravel what could have been an Audi 1-2 in this race. Now, behind him, as there, Charles Wirtz drags the remains into the pit lane. You've got Simon Gachet second, Marco Mappelli third, and Luca Stoltz dropping back in fourth.
And that's key. We saw Luca Stoltz looking very, very racy indeed. That is the 62. Aston, so that's further down the field. That's currently, well,
the 12th.
The 12th, okay. Attempt to the 66, of course, it had to start from the pit lane, had an engine change. That's 56, that's Mauro Drudi.
Charles Wirtz in for a new tyre, and 66 we were looking at, that was Calvin van der Linde, that was the car up from the pit lane, now running in 13th behind Iro Vainio. Right, Collard leading, 2.4 seconds, getting away from Gachet. So right now, it looks as though Ricky Collard and Marvin Kirchhofer could be heading for a maiden Blancpain GT World Challenge Europe victory here. But what about second and third? Mappelli has still not been able to find a way past Simon Gachet.
No, but remember, more importantly, he is ahead on the road of the fourth place, the principal challenger in the championship. That's the Black Falcon Mercedes. So if he can't make it to second place, he's got the consolation of finishing ahead of Lucas Stoltz, and that will further extend their points going into Barcelona in 1 week's time. Ricky Collard, fastest lap as well. You mentioned that earlier one, 56.452. Last lap 157. So just under half a second down on his previous best, but more, almost half a second up on second place Simon Gachet and third place Marco Mappelli. So just a comfortable drive now to the checkered flag, 11.5 minutes to go.
Of course, they are motorsport cars with significant engineering input from Arden, and a win here would be very sweet indeed after the tragedy in Belgium of yesterday for the team.
Yes.
There, out of the car, out of the race, Charles Wirtz. Good luck, anybody that goes to talk to him right now.
Well, I mean, I go back to what I said a minute or two ago. Put a spy camera in the debriefing room and see what the team say. I mean, there was victory in second place, effectively thrown away. It may have been certainly a victory and a third place, but the clear view to me is that that was an avoidable incident that should never have occurred. I'll leave it there.
So Simon Gachet is now, with the efforts earlier of Christopher Haase, upholding Audi honour in second place. Mappelli banking points third, and Lucas Stoltz not being able to stay now with this car. You're riding on board in the third place Lamborghini, which will stretch the championship advantage further heading to the Hungaroring in a week's time. So Stoltz running out of options here. He really needs Mappelli to get stuck in and battle with the Audi and delay himself, and then he can claw back the lost time. But Mappelli seemingly is content to bank the points, keep out of trouble.
Absolutely right, and the wise move to make.
Now here's another look at the incident, and up the inside goes Wirtz, compact turns in, bang, and what does Dries Van Thor think about all of that? Let's see. That, I think, tells you everything you need to know. I'm on my way home, thanks.
And I mean, what else can he say? I mean, it's potential podium. A victory may be unlikely, but certainly a podium finish. And Dries Van Thor did all the hard yards to get that car onto pole position. He led through his stint on challenge, and then it's all gone, as we just seen, and up in a puff of cut-down tyre smoke. And well, he's a cut-down racing driver, personally.
Absolutely. The officials are going to have a look at that after the race. Contact between cars 1 and 2 under investigation after the race. Right now, the race order. Ricky Collard leading by 2.7 seconds. He's done the fastest lap. He's got the lead. He's managed to pressure WRT into Harry Carey almost. Gachet there second. Marco Mappelli third. Lucas Stoltz fourth. Aurélien Panis is in fifth place in the Lexus 5th, going great guns. Rick Brokers upholding some honour for WRT because the Silver Cup leading car is 6th overall. But Ricky Collard now just has to tick off the laps. And there, look, the sister car, number 62 of Aro Vigno, keeping Kelvin van der Linde at bay. Vigno is running 3rd in the Silver Cup, and up the inside goes van der Linde. Up the curve he tries to go, he in turn, oops, more contact, he's trying to fend off 55 of Stein Scott-Horst. The two Attento Audis side by side. Van der Linde gets stuck behind the Fiat Aro Vigno to the outside line now. Comes 55 Scott-Horst as they break for turn 5. Scott-Horst goes ahead of his teammate, does he? Yeah, round the outside. Is he getting the inside of Vigno? He tries, but he can't do it. The Aston is just ahead as they drop downhill. Great stuff.
Real nip and tuck for the two Attento cars, and not normally you ever see Kelvin van der Linde getting outmaneuvered, but he got in that particular case. So he dropped back those 2 positions, certainly 1 position to his teammate, and all the hard work that he has done starting that car in the pit lane when he had an engine change as the number 11. Audi's pushed back into the garage. So up the hill they go through the Schumacher S's. Kelvin van der Linde, his dander will be up.
Will it ever? And so the Attento twins fighting, proving that you can be in the same team and race hard without contact. And right now, those 2 cars are 13th and 14th, but out of the points, of course. So we're currently looking at 8 more minutes to go. We're on lap 27. Ricky Collard leads the way, and he is going to be absolutely buzzing if he scores this race win. Marvin Kirchhofer, his co-driver for our motorsport, but number 62, Aro Vigno, in the second car that was started by Hugo de Sadelier, is ahead of a big sideways moment from Stein Scott-Horst, who therefore gives the place back to Kelvin van der Linde. 55, absolutely full opposite lock coming out of the chicane. And here, Scott-Horst is on the attack once more. He wants to get the place back. Van der Linde needed no second invitation there. And a tiny error by Stein Scott-Horst. The car got away from him. He managed to catch it, but Van der Linde is through and stays ahead at turn 1.
Yeah, and he defended aggressively and managed to keep the position. But I'd have to say the 55 Audi looks the quicker car of the 2 right now. Steinhoff looking to find a way past. 1 lap earlier, he used the battle going on directly ahead of him and was able to use track position to get cleanly through. Again, looks to be the quicker of the 2. Normally you have to say Kelvin van der Linde would be the car that would be leading the charge for Attento, but in this case it looks like Schoenhaus is the one that's doing so.
So there is Scott-Horst being held up a little bit by his teammate. Kelvin van der Linde coming now through turn 12. Through turn 5, getting ahead of myself on the lap because Ricky Collard is so far ahead. He's almost at the end of it, the race leader. And the gap that he's got, 2.6 seconds over there. Simon Gachet, who was a fraction faster last time. And what about Stolz?
Stolz has closed back up to the tail. We've got 6.5 minutes of the race remaining. So he's closed back up marginally to the rear of the 563 Lamborghini, Marco Mappelli, but the time is running out. If the Mercedes has got a little bit more life in its rubber, well, it's going to come through at this phase of the race. Marco Mappelli, all he needs to do is ensure that he doesn't let the Mercedes get past, and at the minute, as much as Lucas Stolz can close down, finding a way around the Lamborghini is not going to be an easy task.
Ezequiel Perez Compact being invited to go and see the stewards at the end of the race, incidentally. 6 minutes are on the clock, and Stolz over the timing line, half a second back from Mappelli. So he is closer again. He's having one last go here to try to gain 1 place, but of course outscore that car, which is crucial for the championship. But that time lost in the pits now coming home to roost, isn't it, for Black Falcon? They did the right thing as a team by not releasing the car in a dangerous fashion, but the downside of that is that it's cost them time and a crucial place to the Lamborghini.
Yes, and you can't do it. Runs very wide coming out of turn 6, the downhill right-hand corner as Ricky Collard makes his way into the bottom of the circuit, turn 8. And I mean, for Ricky, he's had a clear air. He's got the fastest race lap. The car is in unison with him as a driver. These are happy days for any racing driver. All has come together. 5 minutes of this race remaining.
What a mega job he has done. So, Collard leads, Gachet leads, Mappelli leads, Stolz, Panis, Brokers, Stephen Palette, Fabian Schiller, Mirko Bortolotti, Kim Louis Schramm. That is the top 10 with just under 5 minutes to go. And Ricky Collard then, with a great drive, heads down the hill through turn 13. The Aston Martin, it is, up front by 3 seconds going on to this lap. Simon Gachet doing another outstanding job running in that second spot. Marco Mappelli third, and of course that's going to stretch the championship gap over Luca Stolz and Maro Engel going to the Hungaroring in a week's time. So the timing line comes Collon. He's going to get, what, 2 more laps out of this, maybe 3 at a pinch. Behind, Gachet, clear of Mappelli, and then in 4th place as they break the beam, it is the Black Falcon Mercedes. Sean Paul Breslin, the British former racer himself, owns the Black Falcon team. Local squad, but not having a happy weekend here. It's the weekend that might have been. 333 there is the recovering Rinat Salikov David Perel Ferrari, which is 4th in Pro-Am. In Am, Florian Scholze and Wolfgang Triller's HB Racing Ferrari leads the way. There is Florian Scholze, who was struggling a bit yesterday, saying it wasn't his favourite circuit, but today he's on top of the job, going nicely, and comes through the Michael Schumacher S ahead in class of the Rory Penttinen Steve Earle Ferrari, the Castle Racing car. So down they come to the turn 8 corner, Dunlop curve. There is the 76 Aston of Ricky Collard. Marvin Kirchhofer looks on from the pit wall, and Ricky Collard with enough in hand to just breathe a little more easily perhaps on the climb up the hill. There goes 25, Simon Gachet. Dorian Boccolacci looking on as he sees his car 11th, being driven at the moment by Stefan Ortelli. As 563 goes through, Marco Mappelli then at the wheel, still 3rd, still outscoring the Black Falcon Mercedes. And down the hill comes this 2nd and 3rd battle. And again, look, Stolz has fallen away from Mappelli. Now, is that the Mercedes falling back, or is it Mappelli having a last charge to see whether he can force a little error out of Gachet and take another place? Down they go into the chicane, ride the curb, back onto the power. Now, up towards turn 17, Simon Gachet, and I've been saying it a lot this weekend, but he really has come on a pace since his first days last year within Blancpain GT series. He's got quicker all the time, a lot more composed, the ex-single-seater driver, and now withstanding all of this pressure by Marco Mappelli. The leader goes through, there's going to be time for this lap and 1 more, so 2 to run. Ricky Collard, not a wheel has he put wrong, and that's the way he intends to keep it to the very end of the race now. It will be a first win at this level for Ricky. As I say, he came initially after a brief visit to Alton Park in Ginetta Juniors through single-seater racing with the British Formula 4, then Formula 3 scenes. Had a few races when his dad was injured last year in the British Touring Car Championship. He drove for BMW in a GT4 car within the VLN. Also has some DTM experience in the BMW taxi ride program that he did, and then a spell in British GT. But as the car comes down then towards turn 8, the sister car has lost 1 place to 66, and he's under attack for just about everything else going into turn 1. So Aro Vainio runs out wide, Van der Linde goes ahead, Stein Scotthorst goes ahead, so that's a shuffle around now for 12th, 13th and 14th. And then you've also got Taylor Proto and Mathieu Drudi. Drudi ahead of Proto now, right up behind as well. Aro Vainio coming under attack from all corners here. Out of turn 4 they blast, down the hill. Dust kicked up by Taylor Proto, the American-based Brit, who's been one of the mainstays, very successful driver within the Lamborghini Super Trofeo North America, coming into European racing this season. And there, with a puncture, is Rinat Salikov. David Perel was in strife earlier with that, and now another tyre has gone pop in the last minute of the race here. 66, Kelvin van der Linde keeping his teammate at bay, Stein Scotthorst. And now that they've both got ahead of Vainio, they're pulling clear. Vainio has got Mathieu Drudi tucked up behind him, and then Taylor Proto having lost a place. Onto the last lap goes the race leader. The gap was 2.5 seconds. The gap looks like it's come down. It has a little, 2.3. Mappelli, 3rd, has a look to the inside line. Can he find a way by? There is a rather nervous Christopher Haase, and his car hanging on to that 2nd place. Simon Gachet at the wheel. On board with Mappelli. Power now out of the right-hander. Down the hill, there is Collard. So the race leader, the gap still looks like it's coming down, but I think that's more Ricky Collard making sure he doesn't make any mistakes, doesn't put a wheel wrong. A nervous-looking Marvin Kirchhofer counting off the corners, barely able to study the monitor properly for fear of seeing something he doesn't like. But Ricky Collard, I don't think he's going to do anything silly now, is he? Been a really impressive run, this, from the young British driver. Powers up the hill. There's going to be a very, very proud dad watching all of this as well. Rob Collard, touring car star. There in second place is Simon Gachet. The Audi keeping Marco Mappelli at bay, and then in fourth place is Luca Stolz as the cars arrive now into turns 11 and 12 for the last time. Collard, the margin is coming down. Certainly he lost 3/10 in the first sector, but I don't think he's going to be caught. Why the gap is coming down is more likely explained as to Ricky just making sure this is an ultra smooth last lap. Doesn't have to push anymore, just has to win. Doesn't matter whether you win by 1,000th or a minute, you win. Up to the chicane he comes. The SRO Motorsport Aston Martin Vantage GT3, started by Marvin Kirchhofer, is going to be brought to the line by Ricky Collard, who's going to score his first race win at this level. Checkered flag at the ready for Aston Martin, for SRO Motorsport. Ricky Collard and Marvin Kirchhofer win at the Nurburgring. There's a delighted Marvin Kirchhofer, almost falling over the pit wall. Great drive by him in the first stint, great pit stop, and a great effort in the second stint by Ricky Collard to bring the car home as the winner. And second goes the way of Simon Gachet and Christopher Haase. Third, Marco Mappelli and Andrea Caldarelli ahead of Luca Stolz. As there, we've had a change right at the end. Aurélien Panis up to fifth in the Lexus ahead of Rick Brokers. So a good drive indeed by Ricky Collard and Marvin Kirchhofer. The classes are being resolved in the Silver Cup. Rick Brokers and Oscar Tunjo, the winners. What about Pro-Am? 52 Ferrari should be on target to win that. Louis Machiels has got himself in the Ferrari there. Look ahead of Hiroshi Hamaguchi, but they're close. And Hamaguchi's trying to come back at him as they wriggle through the chicane for the last time. Louis Machiels took over from Andrea Bertolini. Hamaguchi took over from Phil Keane. But Louis Machiels, double Pro-Am champion in the Endurance Cup, is going to come through to win. And it's Pro-Am honours then to the Ferrari. Hiroshi Hamaguchi and Phil Keane second. Mauro Ricci and Jim Pla are going to be third. And Florian Scholze and Wolfgang Triller will take the Am Cup. But there is delight in the SRO Motorsport team. And as I was saying during the course of the race, with the late Antoine Hubert having been a BWT Arden driver, and Arden putting in lots of engineering support to this team, racing for Antoine Hubert, it is a very poignant win indeed. So Ricky Collard and Marvin Kirchhofer take a great win, and the championship moves in a week's time, less than a week's time, to the Hungaroring, where it's all going to be decided, and we have some great racing to look forward to there for sure. So Ricky Collard takes honours. There is Marvin Kirchhofer. Very happy indeed. Marvin, who came from a good single-seater background. He was the ADAC Formula Masters champion in 2012, German Formula 3 champion, raced in GP3 and GP2, and then, as the money ran out, switched disciplines into GT racing, and seen him in the ADAC GT Championship before coming into Blancpain GT Series races this year, and now a winner. He will be delighted. There he is, making his way into the Parc Fermé area, ready to receive that car and his co-driver. What a result for Ricky Collard and for Marvin Kirchhofer then. This championship that continues to offer up surprises and dramas, and with all due respect to everybody involved, it was perhaps not a car that anybody really expected to come out on top here, but it has happened, and Marvin Kirchhofer and Ricky Collard take honours at the Nurburgring. Simon Gachet and Christopher Haase second and third, and more points for the championship for Marco Mappelli and Andrea Caldarelli, with the Silver Cup, Rick Brokers and Oscar Tunjo, and that is their first win of the season. So there is something to cheer for at WRT, if nothing else. Santalok, second place, Christopher Haase rallying the troops, and Marvin Kirchhofer is ready. Come on, Ricky, park here, P1, well done. And he is absolutely delighted. And if Marvin Kirchhofer is happy, imagine how pleased Ricky Collard is going to be. There's not much of him. Racing for Antoine, pointed to by Marvin Kirchhofer. And a delighted Ricky Collard explodes out of the car. absolutely delighted. A great drive, didn't put a wheel wrong, savours the moment, clambers on top of the car, absolutely beside himself. Great job, Ricky. And he can't believe it. Absolutely great effort. So Ricky Collard wins, and he also is keen to remember Antoine Hubert in that win. Rushes over to the team, and the celebrations continue. So well done, Ricky Collard, well done, Marvin Kirchhofer and our Motorsport. And when they eventually stop celebrating, and we can prize Ricky's crash helmet off him, he might spare a word or two to John Watson, who is down there. But first of all, there's everybody in the team to embrace and congratulate. There's Christopher Hasse and Simon Gachet. Another really impressive drive by Simon. Christopher Hasse, no stranger to winning, no stranger to the podium. And let's try and calm Ricky Collard down a touch. Who better to get a word than John Watson?
Marvin, unbelievable success, but such a happy team after a very difficult weekend for the Arden team.
I think it was not only this. I think, you know, yesterday everyone knows was a very sad day for the motorsport world. And I think this is really in our hearts right now. That's why we carry this for Antoine. It's part of the team as well. And yeah, I think this win is just for him. We dedicate it to him. Also really well done to the guys. You know, we've been pushing so many times. We've been so close all the time. Now we finally made it to the top step. So yeah, I'm just very, very happy. Thank you.
You had a good start. You got away with a lead group, so you were able to get clear. And then that stunning pit stop to put you in the lead.
Yeah, it was really good. It was well played. We had the team just did a massive effort. They've been so spot on. You know, we came here as rookies this year, so we had to improve many things. The team just developed themselves, and yeah, we're now on the front runners. We're doing a great job. So really appreciate what the team did. Ricky had a massive move, mega move, played it well, put us in the lead, and yeah, we got a win.
Well, Ricky, first of all, that was a very understated sort of chat you had with your team there.
I'm speechless. I just can't thank everyone enough. You know, I'm new to our motorsports, my first year with the team, first year of Aston Martin. And did I think we'd be up the top step? No way. I was hoping for a podium. But you know, when I have a sniff of a win, you know, you dig an extra bit deeper and you've got to get it.
Well, when we spoke before the race started, you didn't quite show that confidence.
I just don't think I don't think anyone here expected us to do this. And you know, what the boys have done behind the scenes. You know, if you look at the start of the season, you know, our pit stops weren't great. So you know, as much as we've done a cracking job here, you know, the boys back in there, they've done a proper job, and they gave me the opportunity and a great race car. And obviously, like Marvin's just touched on, we are part of the Arden Motorsport Group, and I wish Hubert and all his family, you know, my sincerest gratitude, because I used to race against Hubert. Was a great racer, kicked my ass many times, but no, thank you.
Well, he'll be looking down and saying well done to you guys. But just one final question. How much did you laugh when you saw the 1 and 2 Audi get together down in turn 1?
I never laugh. Maybe a little laugh, but it's never nice. I feel really sorry for the 2 WRT guys. I'm good friends with some of them, and you know, you never want to win a battle like that. We could have had a fantastic battle, but you know, we were there at the right time at the right place, and put him under pressure, and he cracked.
Well, a great success under very difficult circumstances. Well done.
Ricky Collard, Marvin Kirchhofer, race winners here at the Nurburgring, and proudly pose next to the P1 board. Well done, Ricky Collard. Well done, Marvin Kirchhofer. Right, Simon Gachet, Christopher Hasse left to uphold Audi honour in the end. Second place, they're with John.
Simon, that was quite hard at the end. You're under pressure pretty much all your stint.
Yeah, I did, I think, a good sit, but Chris did it as well. It was easy for me at the end. I was P2 through the WRT crash, so we are P2 at the end. It's a strong result for the team, for us, for the championship, so thank you, Santa Luke.
Christopher, first Audi home, does that make you any happier or not?
Yeah, to be honest, I'm quite happy. I think we started P2, we finished P2. My start was not ideal, I have to say. I was falling back to P4. But we had a great pit stop. We had Simon Gachet at the end, the weapon in the car. So at the end, P2, I think, is our maximum result today. Congrats to the winners. And I think tonight we have a good dinner together.
Enjoy it. Well done.
Thank you.
And Marco Mappelli and Andrea Caldarelli take third place and outscore, of course, the Black Falcon Mercedes. So great news for the championship And let's hear the thoughts of Marco Mappelli and Andrea Caldarelli, because they're with Watty in Parc Fermé now.
Andrea, once again, you had to battle from what would be an abnormal grid position.
7. We started 7, so it was quite difficult, but at the end it's a great podium. It's a very good point for the championship, and yeah, it was a very difficult race. It's very difficult to overtake here, but at the end of the day, I think we did a good job also this race.
Well, what was different to yesterday?
I mean, I think that the air temperature is very different from yesterday, but I have to say we didn't really struggle. It's just that when we follow behind, it's very difficult to find, you know, the good spot, and we knew that we didn't have to take any risk for the championship. So P3 was exactly what we were waiting for.
Marco, you had Luca Stolz all behind you. Never really threatened you, although he got closer towards the end.
Yeah, no, it actually was a bit of elastic between second, third and fourth, but at the end I was cautioned not to make mistake. We did 2 clean races. Yesterday was a good win. Today, lucky podium with the 2 cars in front of us had an accident. So we take this point and we move forward.
Well, good points and heading to you know where, Budapest.
Budapest.
Yes, the Hungaroring, John, is where we are in a week's time, or Barcelona if you prefer, but you won't see much. It's Barcelona for the end of the Endurance Cup at the end of September. Let's confirm the results of the second race of the weekend in Blancpain GT World Challenge Europe here at the Nurburgring. Ricky Collard and Marvin Kirchhofer, first-time winners ahead of Simon Gachet and Christopher Hasse. Marco Mappelli third with Andrea Caldarelli ahead of Luca Stolz and Mauro Engel. A great fifth, the Lexus, Aurelian Panis and Jack Hawksworth ahead of Silver Cup winning Rick Brokers and Oscar Tuncho. Seventh, Stephen Paulette and Marcus Finkelhock ahead of Mirko Bortolotti and Christian Engelhardt. Ninth in the end, Kim Louis Schramm and Jamie Green, with Fabian Schiller taking 10th place in the ASP Mercedes shared with Timur Boguslavski. Further down, you find in 19th spot the Pro-Am winner, Louis Machiels and Andrea Bertolini, and 22nd, Florian Scholzer and Wolfgang Triller, victorious within the AM competition. So, great effort from Ricky Collard, Marvin Kirchhofer, from all the ARM Motorsport guys, and giving that car a maiden victory of the season. The drivers will be making their way up towards the podium. We'll have a look at the highlights of the second race of the weekend that began with that good start by Dries van Voor, hustling number 1 into the lead on the inside line as they went to turn 1. Mauro Engel eventually just squeezing ahead of Christopher Hasse, but he then got stuck with the perennial problem of overtaking around here. There was drama for Raffaele Marciello and David Pirelli. It damaged the Ferrari and it put the Mercedes out of the race. Andrea Caldarelli on the tail of Christopher Hasse spent the first stint looking for a way by, could not do it. Beat Antonio Liuzzi, former Grand Prix racer, looking on from the FFF Racing Team pit bunker as in came Caldarelli to give way to Mappelli, and a slower stop for the Black Falcon Mercedes because it had to wait to let some traffic through rather than an unsafe release like yesterday. So they lost track position to the Lamborghini, and Luca Stolz tried his hardest. He got onto the tail early on in the stint but could not find a way past. Ezequiel Perez Compact took over number 1 from Dries van Voor and charged back into the race in the lead, but it wasn't long before Charles Weerts was bringing the gap down, and the 2 teammate Audis got themselves together as Nico Bastien in 89 in the Silver Cup wriggled his way through traffic. Charles Weerts then was on the back of the number 1 Audi, and just as we anticipated the lead to change, Ricky Collard arrived on the back of Weerts, made a move. Weerts then made a move against Compact, and the 2 teammates touched at turn 1. Both cars were damaged and out of the race, and through into the lead went Ricky Collard. Woe at WRT, delight at ARM Motorsport. Dries van Voor headed for home, Charles Weerts headed back into the pit lane, and Ezequiel Perez Compact parked trackside and became a spectator for the last 10 minutes or so of the race. So, as Ricky Collard built the gap, Simon Gachet fended off Marco Mappelli for second place, but at the checkered flag, it was a win for the Aston Martin. Marvin Kirchhofer and Ricky Collard victorious. A very happy Marvin Kirchhofer, a delighted ARM Motorsport team, and great for the championship as well to have another different winner getting up there for the top step of the podium, and the team remembering Antoine Hubert this weekend. Ricky Collard absolutely beside himself as he came from the car with the opposition for Audi and Lamborghini there in Parc Fermé as well. And for Christopher Hasse and Simon Gachet and Santalok, second place, another really good, solid weekend. Here's a partnership as well as a team as well getting better and better all the time. Christopher Hasse, of course, no stranger to success. He's been with just about every Audi team going. But Santilok, after its Spa 24-hour win a couple of years ago, making strides forward all the time, and so too is Simon Gachet now, a very competitive driver indeed. Right, the podium is almost ready. And the drivers will be brought forward very shortly as the winning crews are there. And a reminder that in a week's time, the teams will meet again in Hungary. And not only will they go racing, but they will decide a championship. There, the championship leaders, Andrea Caldarelli and Marco Mappelli for third place overall, brought onto the podium with handshakes from Stefan Rattel. There for second, Simon Gachet and Christopher Hasse. And the race winners at the Nurburgring for the first time this year, Marvin Kirchhofer and Ricky Collard. Two absolutely elated drivers. Great action within the Blancpain GT World Challenge Europe here. Ricky Collard and Marvin Kirchhofer head for the top step of the podium. And a great job done in this second race of the weekend at the Nurburgring. And a win for Ricky Collard and Marvin Kirchhofer. The championship set nicely for the Hungaroring in a week's time. There we will see the champions crowned. For now, from the Nurburgring, from John Watson and David Addison, goodbye. So there, the drivers about to receive the trophies. Ricky Collard on the top step. Diana Clem, the marketing and sales coordinator from Blancpain, hands over the trophies to third, Marco Mappelli, Andrea Caldarelli. For second place, the drivers there. You have Simon Gachet and Christopher Hasse, and then a first Blancpain winning trophy for Ricky Collard and Marvin Kirchhofer as they stand on the top step. Pirelli caps on, trophies in the air, and two very happy drivers indeed. Stefan Rattel, the founder and CEO of the SRO Motorsports Group, comes forward with the checks for the season-long entrance across both championships as well. You have to do both endurance and the sprint format within the World Challenge Europe to receive the money, and €12,500 ought to sort the bar bill out tonight, given how pleased Ricky Collard and Marvin Kirchhofer were with that win. And there the drivers set to celebrate on the podium. Cork almost hit Marvin there, but Ricky Collard celebrates, and the champagne clunked, but not many taking the opportunity to spray here. It's going to be saved for another day. Ricky Collard then victorious with Marvin Kirchhofer, and as far as the championship is concerned, that does stretch the advantage that Marco Mappelli and Andrea Caldarelli has within the championship. There you have the esports podium of the gamers. We've been part of the iRacing Expo this weekend. The top three from the gamers competition on the podium here as well. 8 points between Marco Mappelli and Andrea Caldarelli now in the championship over Luca Stoltz and Mauro Engel. Mirko Bortolotti and Christian Engelhardt effectively out of the hunt, so it's 8 points between the top two crews heading to the Hungaroring in just a week's time, as now the Silver Cup drivers get themselves ready on the podium, with Rick Brokers and Oscar Tunho set for the top step of the podium, at least as I said during the race, having something for WRT to cheer for. There is Rick Brokers, and he and Oscar Tunho made a good partnership. They work well together, the car getting quicker and quicker and quicker all the time, and they take the top step here in Germany. So well done, Rick Brokers and Oscar Tunho, winners of the Silver Cup here in Race 2 in the Blancpain GT World Challenge Europe at the Nurburgring. We'll see you in Budapest in a week's time.